Hello, hello! How's everybody doing? Everyone okay? Let me know in the comments where you guys are watching from, where you're tuned in from, what cities, what dominions, what galaxies, and we'll get started right away. Gold Alchemist, thank you for the super chat. Says thanks for the stream, Richard. Well, I appreciate it, and don't thank me just yet because I'm gonna make you sit through a lot of I'm joking, but a lot of nasty speeches from Western officials, which you'll of course love very much. So give me a second over here. I'm just trying to pull this up. I'm till the last second I'm still listening to material that I want to show you. And it's really so bad. It's just awful. I mean, it's really just, it's so bad. Okay, here we go. This is number one. And we've got people tuning in from New Jersey, from Spain, from the UK, from Milwaukee, from Oregon, from London, from Massachusetts, from North Dakota, from Germany. We've got Serbia. We've also got California, Milky Way Galaxy, London, Australia, Florida, Berlin, Sweden, Chicago, occupied Zionist America. Well, that's one way to describe it. Certainly. Okay, so let me jump right in with this. Okay, give me 1 second over here. I just need her. I just need her speech. Okay. You guys can see that? Okay, so I mean, this, first of all, goes without saying. I'm wishing a Ramadan Kareem to all of you who are celebrating and observing the holy month. And I just thought I'd start out by showing you these unsavory, I mean, just, ridiculous speeches that I can't believe they actually sat down and filmed this. I thought this year of all years, these people wouldn't even bother, but actually they're so shameless. They're so shameless. They actually got on, on camera and started wishing Muslims, a happy or a generous Ramadan, as they say in Arabic. And I mean, here you have this bread loaf, this potato, Olaf Scholz, the German chancellor. And what's incredible to me is that he doesn't just say happy Ramadan and then run away. No, he actually, he goes, he goes to Gaza. I mean, not physically, but he goes there. Like, he's talking about Ramadan and he goes and starts talking about Gaza as well. And man, I mean, it's really horrendous. Let me just interpret for you real quickly.
Für Musliminnen und Muslime unter uns beginnt in diesen Tagen der Fastenmonat.
Yeah, we're not going to watch all of it, okay? So just
Muslime sind in diesen Tagen mit ihren Gedanken und Gefühlen sicherlich besonders bei den Frauen und Männern und Kindern im Nahen Osten.
Yeah, so he's saying that Muslims are surely thinking of the of friends and family in the Middle East and worried about them.
Die sie sich sorgen. Ich möchte, dass Sie wissen, Sie sind mit Ihrem Mitgefühl nicht allein.
They're not alone in these thoughts.
In Deutschland leben viele
Many in Germany are also worried about the murder of Israelis. Okay, what does that have to do with Ramadan? I don't know.
Und am Schicksal der unschuldig Getöteten, der Verwundeten und der Leidenden in Gaza.
And then you see he does this switch that you always hear. It's like, the Israelis that have been killed, and then all these poor Palestinians who just died. Like, died of what? Heart disease? Yeah. there is a difference in the language, and it's done the same in English, in French. All the politicians do it, right? Because Palestinians are not equal human beings, and you're not allowed to even depict the Israelis as having committed a crime.
Gaza. Auch mir geht das Leid sehr nah.
Oh, he also feels bad.
Ja, Israel hat das Recht, sich gegen den Terror der Hamas zu verteidigen.
Now, you don't need me to translate what he just said, do you? You don't need me to interpret. I can't believe this. Like, I'm not even Muslim, and just listening to this, I'm offended. I mean, talk about someone being, insensitive.
Dabei ist auch klar, dass Israel sich an die Regeln des Völkerrechts zu halten hat.
Right, and he says, well, of course, Israel has the right to defend itself, but it also has to be held to account under international law, which, yeah, you're doing a great job at.
Und Zivilisten schonen muss. Deutschland hilft bei der Versorgung, indem wir Lebensmittel, Medikamente und andere.
Oh, well, that's great. Now he says Germany is helping to deliver aid and life-saving medication into Gaza. Really?
Hilfsgüter in den Gazastreifen schicken. Nach den USA tun wir mehr als alle anderen Länder der Welt.
I love this so much. Really, I can't get over this. He says after the United States, we do more than any country in the world. So basically, he's saying Germany is number 2 in getting aid and life-saving medication to Gaza. That's great, because it turns out that after the United States, Germany is also the country that delivers the most weapons to Israel. Isn't that funny? Do you see how this works? The United States and Germany give Israel weapons, and then they also send, a few bottles of medicine, expired food to Gaza, which isn't even enough to feed the whole place for one day. Never mind, actually save lives. And then they say, look at all this aid we're giving them. It's like, if I come to your house and I shoot you in the head and I say, yeah, but look, I'm donating all this blood to this person I just shot in the face. So, look how benevolent I am. Look how generous I am. Look how kind I am. Be thankful, you Muslims. I mean, the nerve of this guy, the nerve of these people, I swear to God. Just say Heil Hitler and get over with it, you bitch. Okay, here we've got another one. It's not just him who's going to do it. It's Baerbock, who's the foreign minister. I mean, to call her a foreign minister is Jesus.
Heute beginnt der Ramadan.
That's it. I'm not playing it any further. I'm not playing another second of that. No more. And it gets even better or worse depending on where you are right now, if you're laughing or crying. This is Galant. So do you remember the guy who said that people in Gaza are human animals? Yeah, the Israeli defense or offense minister. Remember? He actually he sat down and filmed a Happy Ramadan message. Can you believe that?
مبارك عليكم شهر رمضان الفضيل كل عام وانتم بخير.
I don't think we're going to go any further with that either, are we? No, but honestly, I'll play the rest of it. Look at this.
عليكم بالخير والبركة. חודש רמדאן הוא חודש חשוב, שבו ירד הקוראן ובו ישנה הזדמנות לשיפור יחסי השכנות ולחיזוק קשרי המשפחה. אנחנו מודעים לכך שחודש רמדאן עלול להיות חודש של ג'יהאד. אנחנו אומרים לכל מי שחושב לנסות אותנו, אנחנו מוכנים, אל תעשו טעויות. אני רוצה לברך אתכם ולהגיד לכולם.
So it took him about 5 seconds to turn this from a greeting into a threat. The word jihad is a funny word in the West, because they have a very it's completely misunderstood. They have no idea what it means. I mean, jihad is best described as it can of course take on the meaning of armed struggle, sure, but it doesn't only mean that. It can also be like a battle with yourself, for example, to ameliorate yourself. it can be understood in various contexts. It has nothing to do with, necessarily with what he's saying. I mean, again, I don't know why he's bringing this up right now. Because, when I think of Ramadan, I think of, this is a really nice thing. People are they're using their faith to go through an arduous physical task every day, and they're committed to that faith, and they're doing that in solidarity with others who don't have enough to eat. And then they break the fast together at night. And I've been invited many times to break the fast with Muslim friends, and it's a very nice thing. I don't think if you dare to commit jihad this month, I mean, what is this? What is wrong with these people? I wish they just wouldn't say anything. It would be better if none of them had filmed anything. Really, just shut up. Like, they're murdering people in Gaza. They're the reason there's no food in Gaza. Like, literally, this is the same guy who said no food into Gaza. This one, he literally said that on October 8th, was it? He said no food into Gaza. No food. Lo and behold, there is no food in Gaza. People are starving to death. Every day the figures go up, and I think it's 25 people who've starved to death right now. It'll get worse, unfortunately, before it gets better. I mean, really just horrific. The same guy, and now he's like wishing a happy Ramadan. To what? To who? With what? How are you, like, you're fasting anyway, right? Well, there's a big difference between being starved and fasting. Fasting is voluntary. In any case, you're fasting, and you get to the end of the day to sundown, and what are you breaking the fast with? What are you supposed to eat? There's no food. Oh, why is there no food? Because of you. I mean, he's expecting people to eat animal feed or something like that, because that's what's happening, by the way. People are actually they're having to resort to eat animal feed or bird seeds, or I just, this is not fit for human consumption, not to mention the fact how degrading that is. I mean, honestly, when I think of that, I don't think it's degrading to the Palestinians. It's really the Israelis degrading themselves and humiliating themselves. They've got food being delivered to them, and they're living like kings, and then treating the Palestinians like this. I mean, who looks bad at the end of the day? It's not the Palestinians. And need I remind you that, this starvation is not just now during Ramadan, but also during Christmas, okay? During Christmas, there was also no food coming in. There was also a siege. So, no matter whether you're Palestinian Christian or you're Muslim, you're suffering. You're suffering under the Israeli occupation. But and back then, Netanyahu was filming a Merry Christmas message, and I was like, well, did they ask the devil for like a personal one this time? I mean, just so insensitive. And remember, it was that week that they had also shot dead 2 Palestinian women in front of a church. Do you remember that, with a sniper? I mean, talk about insensitive. These people are so sick. Well, do we expect anything, better than this? No. Honestly, I would much rather there's no siege and no message. All right, than having the siege and these stupid messages. This like fake plastic synthetic. Oh, Ramadan Kareem, but I'm also gonna starve you, so you make sure you suffer during Ramadan and before and after Ramadan. Really, there's something wrong with these people, with these Western politicians, with the Israeli politicians. There is truly something wrong with them. I mean, just disgusting, really, devils. Well, sorry to start out with such a bleak one, but I planned on wishing everyone who is celebrating, and then I remember these videos, and I had to tell you about them. So, you know what? Let me give you an update on what's happening in Palestine, because it's really bad. It's really bad. When I read you the figures right now, your mind is going to be blown. Okay, so I've been putting these together all day. So give me a second here to just okay. So this is sorry. So this is an update of the Gaza war, March 14th, 2024. 25 people have died of hunger already during the famine, and it's getting worse. In total, 31,000 people have died, okay, have been killed by Israel. And 25 of them starved to death. So again, that's 31,112 people killed in Gaza. 72,760 people injured. Let me repeat that again. 72,760 people injured. Over 13,000 of the people killed in Gaza are children. Okay, so once again, over 13,000 are children. 133 are journalists. Hundreds of health workers have been killed. You have 1.7 million people displaced in Gaza. I mean, the population is 2.3 million, so you know it's basically almost the total population of Gaza displaced. You've got 1.5 million Gazans sheltering in Rafah, so that's on the border with Egypt. 158 UN workers who've been killed. Actually, that's actually going to be 159. They killed another one today. If you look at the West Bank, so again, this is not Gaza, but the West Bank, you've got 432 Palestinians killed in the West Bank since October 7th, and 7,490 Palestinians detained in the West Bank. People in Gaza, of course, have also been arrested, kidnapped, detained by the Israelis. 4,000 of them, actually. I mean, let me just. I think it's worth comparing these figures to what the Israelis, you know, and the losses they can incur, because if you go back to October 7th, how many Israelis were killed? 1,139. So the message from the Zionists who think that they are superior, they really believe this, right? They call themselves the chosen ones. The message is that if you kill 1,139 Israelis, that's worth, you know, on the stock exchange, 31,112 Palestinians, right? Remember that this figure contains a lot of people killed by the Israelis themselves. To this day, I still don't know, we still don't know, how many of the 1,100 were actually killed by the Israeli forces themselves. And that is a big number. Of course, don't forget that a good chunk of them are in the army, right? Israelis love pretending that, you know, they're a bunch of innocent civilians. Every Israeli man and woman has to go to the army at 18 until they're 40. So from 18 years old until 40, you are in the military as a reservist, whether you like it or not. 134 hostages in Gaza. That's Israelis and foreign nationals. But I mean, you know, these numbers are ridiculous. They're truly ridiculous. Again, to kind of put this into perspective, if you look at the ratio of civilians killed in Gaza, it surpasses any war in the 20th century. Yeah, the last century. So that includes World War I. It includes World War II. I mean, the fact that this has been allowed to go on is despicable. It's one thing for the Israelis to be as gross in their behavior as they are in Gaza. It's another thing for, you know, the rest of the world to just stand by and do nothing. That's something else, you know. I'm not okay with my government going and upholding a genocide in Gaza by, you know, trying to protect Israeli maritime trade. Israel can go to hell. You know, the trade, the commerce can go to hell. It's not important. It's not worth all these lives. It's just not. You know, I just want to remind you also that the Israelis have been attacking Lebanon. I'll get to that in a second. But they've killed 4 people, 4 civilians Baalbek, which is actually 100 kilometers from the border. They've been bombing very deeper and deeper. And again, I'll come back to that in a moment. But really, these figures are ridiculous. They're absolutely staggering. I mean, it's not just more civilians killed by ratio than in any war in this century and the last. It's also the fact that you have more journalists that have been killed in this war than any war on record, right? So the Committee to Protect Journalists, the CPJ, I think they only started putting these figures together, 30 years ago. But even then, if you go back and you look at the total number of journalists killed in a single war, it doesn't even amount to this. I mean, think of how serious that is. You know, even in Vietnam, you got CBS like crawling behind some GIs, behind in the jungle. You know, even then, think of how crazy that is. Over 130 journalists killed by Israel. See, that's a very interesting point, because Hamas don't kill journalists. Hamas don't have a problem with journalists. Israel kills journalists. And look at this also, since October 7th, who has been killing civilians as a matter of policy? As a matter of policy. Who has systematically, been killing civilians? It's the Israelis. Lo and behold, the figures. This is ethnic cleansing. That's what it is. It's ethnic cleansing. And I'm going to talk about, I'm going to go into more detail now about Lebanon and Yemen, and also this pathetic pier that they want to build, this bridge, this so-called aid bridge, which is a cover for something much deeper, which you already know about if you watched my analysis. So let's get down to it. But I still wanted to give you this update because of how horrendous it is. I mean, really, how staggering. 13,000 children killed. 13,000 children killed. Do you know that the number of children killed in Gaza during the last 4 months is higher than all the children in the world killed in all the wars in the last 4 years? Okay? Think of how serious that is. That includes Ukraine, right? Which they made such a fuss about. Oh yeah, let's give them billions and billions and billions of dollars. For what? That includes Syria, which is also another NATO war, another Israel war. Think of how crazy that is. I mean, it's Jesus. And now talking about Ramadan as well. Another thing which I would also add to you, since we're talking about the figures. 1,000 mosques have been destroyed in Gaza by Israel. 1,000 mosques. Once again, I'm not Muslim, but when I hear this, I mean, I'm enraged. I'm enraged. So how do you think people in Gaza feel? 1,000 mosques. Could you imagine if Hamas destroyed 1,000 synagogues? I mean, they'd be fucking screaming about Holocaust 2.0, till the end of times. How can you say that that's not targeted and it's not a very clear planned system of genocide? I mean, it's shocking. It's really shocking. If you don't find this shocking, there's something wrong with you. I'm telling you straight up. If you don't find anything wrong with what's happening in Gaza, it's something wrong with you. You are fucked up. You're screwed up. You have no moral compass. You have no common sense. You have no morality. You have no empathy. You have no sympathy. You have nothing. You have nothing left because you're a shell now. So let's go through the Israeli crimes. Boy, are they numerous. Boy, are they plentiful. Jesus. So, hold on. Let me pull this up. This is a BBC investigation. And it's it's about time. It's about time they actually did something.
There's been a
So, before I continue, please remember to hit the like button because the channel was demonetized on YouTube. So, you know, we can't have people telling the truth about Zionism. So please make sure you've hit the like button. And thank you to all of you who've sent in donations on PayPal, on Patreon, on Rumble. It's very much needed because the fact that he demonetized the YouTube means that, you know, they took away my main source of income or revenue or whatever. So, you know, I have to make up for it. And the only way I can do that is if you guys please help me on PayPal, Rumble, and Patreon. So thank you to everyone who's joined on there and sent in donations. And let me just, we have a couple here, so let me just read them to you. Give me a second. Thank you to Maz, who signed up on Patreon. I appreciate that very much. And we have also a donation on PayPal. This one is from Hamed. Thank you very much. There's another one here on PayPal from Cheryl. Thank you, Cheryl. And we have another one from Nina, who says supporting independent journalism. Well, thank you very much, Nina. Thank you to all of you for donating, and I appreciate it very much. So, okay, let me show you what's happening here. So it's about time the BBC did some serious journalism about Gaza. And this is their own investigation, although once again, I mean, well, I'll give you my thoughts in a second. Just look at the video.
A strong international response to a BBC investigation highlighting the ill treatment of Palestinian medical staff by the Israeli Defense Forces at a hospital in Gaza last month. Our reporting includes evidence of people being detained, beaten, and prevented from carrying out vital medical duties. The Foreign Secretary, Lord Cameron, says the report is very disturbing, and he's called for answers from the Israelis. And the US State Department has also seen the investigation. Israel says it took over the Nasser hospital in Khan Yunis last month.
Oh, yeah, I bet they're really going to show them now from the State Department and the Foreign and Commonwealth Office. Anyway.
Believing Hamas fighters were based there. Several Israeli hostages who've been released say they were held on the premises. Israel maintains any abuse of detainees is strictly prohibited. Well, Ola Gearin is live in Jerusalem with the very latest for us now. Ola.
Clive, this was a lengthy, detailed forensic investigation by BBC journalists carried out over several weeks. The details were checked and cross-checked. They spoke to doctors, nurses, pharmacists, people who were displaced and living in the hospital grounds. Now, allegations that emerged were very specific, and those specific allegations were put to the Israeli army. They did not reply to the allegations in specifics. They did not make any denial of the specific allegations of mistreatment, but they told the BBC in general terms that medical staff at Nasser Hospital were not ill-treated during their operation.
Not for the first time in this war, Israeli soldiers have been filmed standing over stripped and kneeling detainees. But these are medical staff detained after the Israeli army overran the Nasser hospital in Khan Yunis. Most are still being held. For weeks, the medics had witnessed Israel's advance as it closed in around the hospital. The fighting in Khan Yunis was fierce. Thousands of people who'd sought refuge in the grounds fled under fire. Even a hospital wasn't safe.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm not going to show you the next scene because I don't think I can on YouTube. But yeah, it's not just even a hospital wasn't safe. All the hospitals are not safe. I mean, you know, need I remind you that the majority of hospitals in Gaza do not function anymore. They're out of service, right? I think you've got 36 hospitals and 28 of them don't work anymore. I mean, just preposterous. It's shocking that this is happening. It is. And you have to understand that even if they were functioning by some miracle, how can you have patients fighting infections when they don't have access to clean water and there's no medication and they're being shelled? I mean, it's like every obstacle that makes sure people are healthy and healing in case they're wounded is put in place by the Israelis. But I want to describe to you what happens in the next scene, which they don't show. And this is a video that came out about 3 weeks ago, something like that. And I swear to God, it's like something out of a horror movie. You've got someone filming inside of the lobby of the hospital, and a guy like stumbles through the door, and he's like crawling on the floor with his leg fucking bleeding out. And the Israelis just keep firing. I mean, it's just horrific stuff. Really the worst imaginable. And remember, that's not even what the report is about. It's not even about just that scene. It's the fact that they've been holding the doctors and nurses in these positions, right?
Chairs with
look at how they're treating the patients. Look at how the Israelis drag the patients outside of the hospitals and just leave them in the sunlight.
mass weapons and medication, which it says supports accounts from Israeli hostages that they were held here.
Oh, so you're telling me Hamas took the Israeli hostages to hospital and fucking gave them medical care? Well, they're already being treated a whole lot better than the Palestinians who are detained by Israel. I can guarantee you that. How dare Hamas give the hostages medical care? Oh my God, the atrocity.
In the IDF's own footage, you can see hospital patients detained outside in their beds and wheelchairs with their hands zip-tied.
I mean, that is disgusting. I want you to look at this image and never forget that. Look at that person in their hospital bed with their hands tied up like that. I mean, this is straight up Nazis. The Israelis are straight up Nazis. Even worse, because they hijack the Holocaust and then they pretend they're the only victims in the Holocaust. They ignore all the gays, the priests, the political dissidents, Roma. So they hijack the Holocaust and then they use it to shut people up. And then they behave worse than the Nazis. I mean, what can I say? If the Israelis hypothetically should be the last people on earth to behave like this, because this happened to a lot of Jews, and yet they go and behave like this. Again, look at that. There's another person on the right, or actually several people on the right. You see where my mouse is? Look at that. With their hands bound in the hospital bed. I mean, can you think of more sick, depraved behavior?
And this was the treatment for medical staff. At least 49 of them forced to leave their posts and remove their surgical clothing. Israel says it was searching for concealed weapons and that among the 200 arrested at Nasser were terrorists posing as medics. Dr. Amira Assouli had remained at Nasser throughout the siege. Before Israel's incursion, she risked her life to save others as people were shot inside the grounds. Later, she witnessed what happened to her fellow doctors.
It was tough for us to see how the doctors, who'd bravely stayed at the hospital despite the dangers, were stripped and beaten. Their hands were tied behind them and they were left in the sun for hours.
Dr. Ahmed Sabha is one of very few medics to have since been released.
So I just want to make a point, because they say the Israelis stripped the doctors to check for weapons. I mean, are you serious? Really? You have to strip doctors and bind their hands and then leave them to cook in the sun? Really? You can't check any other way? Get another job if that's really your excuse. No one believes this crap. You're abusing them. You're abusing medical staff. You're torturing them.
He shows the positions they were forced to adopt for hours and says they were also tortured. His hand was broken by an Israeli soldier, he says, and muzzled dogs were set on him.
وضعونا في أرض تقريبا كلها حصمة.
They forced us to kneel down with our eyes blindfolded. There was a pit in the ground, and we thought they would execute us and bury us there. We said our prayers, but they were just intimidating us.
طلع بس إيش كله تخويف.
The hospital manager, who dealt with the Israelis during the raid, says with so many staff detained, patients died.
So, you know, my thoughts on this is that, sorry, but this is too little too late. Yes, it's great the BBC broadcast this. Yeah, well, where were you 5 months ago? This kind of behavior has been happening to Palestinians for decades. For decades. Do you know how many times I'm looking something up on Google, and then I find the same story from like 2 years ago, from 12 years ago. It is uncanny, almost the exact same headline. Jesus. I mean, sorry. Again, I know we should, you know, give credit when credit is due and say, yes, this is a good report. Yes, I'm saying that, but I'm saying, you know, why were they not talking about this when it actually happened? You know, why aren't they talking about all the cases when this happens? Because it does happen all the time. Every single hospital in Gaza has been subjected to one form or another of Israeli attacks. Every single one. This is not just Nasser Hospital that's been overrun by tanks. Look at Al Ahli Hospital, at Batiste Hospital. The Israelis, they killed hundreds of people in one fell swoop, and then had the audacity to blame Hamas. And then on top of that, look what they did to El Shifa Hospital, to the Indonesian hospital. I mean, the list is endless. So, you know, my point here is that, yeah, good report, but too little, too late. Because they're going to go back the next second to giving Israeli guests the mic, you know, to brainwashing people with propaganda. And I want to remind you of something. Why does it have to be medical staff for you to make the case that this is bad treatment? Let's say, for example, these weren't medical staff. And what gives the Israelis the right to put people like that in the sun and you know, put them in torture and stress positions and strip them and degrade them? Who the hell are these people? I mean, it's really scandalous, you know, and then they give us these fake performances like this one.
The BBC hospital was raised today in the House of Commons and the House of Lords. The Foreign Secretary now calling for answers.
These are very disturbing pictures and reports that have come out from this hospital, and we need to get to the bottom of what exactly happened, and we need answers from the Israelis about that. And when we have those, then it'll be easier to comment.
In Washington.
Really, you need answers from the Israelis. What, you can't just look at the photos. That's not enough. You need the Israelis to say something.
Washington too, questions are being asked about the BBC investigation.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Has the US raised it with Israel?
I have only seen the report. I don't know that if we have raised it, but I would expect that we would. It is the type of cases that we often raise with them, to seek more information and to make clear, as we always have, that any detainee should be treated in strict compliance with international humanitarian law.
Once again, what possible information do you need from them? Like, what excuse is going to justify, you know, taking patients out into a courtyard in the hospital bed and then binding their hands? What possible scenario? It's amazing. It's really amazing. Anyway, I just wanted to show you this. It's such a, you know, really awful fate. And you know what's disgusting is that there's this has happened to doctors and medics and civilians and all across Gaza. And if you're someone in the West Bank, you could just as easily be kidnapped, harassed, and tortured like this by the Israelis. It happens all the time. This isn't even something new. What's new is the scale of it, without question, the scale of it. But the treatment, people in Gaza and the West Bank and Jerusalem, they've been treated like this by the Israelis forever. That's what people don't understand. Like this, what's happening right now is just being broadcast to us because of the technology that's available, and of course the scale of what's happening is so is so big that it matters, of course, that it draws attention. But none of these actions or acts or crimes, these affronts on Palestinians at the hands of Israelis are actually new, right? Of course, with the exception of technological ones like the drones and so on, which didn't exist 60 years ago. But you take my point. There was an account of a medic in Gaza. Now, I posted this. Let me fetch the link for you. Just one moment. So this is a health. This is a medic's account of what happened to him in Gaza, and I'm posting the link in the chat. So he got kidnapped by the Israelis. They tortured him, and then the Americans who are in Gaza also tortured him. So again, these are U.S. troops in Gaza that also tortured this man. And I want you to please read this account, because I swear to God, it's like a book you can't put down. It's so horrific. You want to stop reading, but you can't stop reading because you have to bear witness to this affront. Once again, I'm pasting it again in the chats. It's so horrific. And, all types of stuff, like he got put in, he got given drugs, physically abused. I mean, you name it. It's really awful. This is one person, one medic. Let me tell you, let me just end with this. Whatever you think is happening in Gaza, it's 10 times worse. It's a very sobering thought. Whatever you think is happening in Gaza, it's 10 times worse. I don't even know what to say, man. I don't even know what to say. There's no, they don't even bother pretending anymore that they care about journalists, healthcare workers, civilians. Nothing. It's just, they have truly, in the purest sense of a carte blanche or a blank check, they have given a carte blanche to the Israelis. Truly. And it is a nasty, nasty list. One of you said in the comments that, hold on, let me find this thing. You said that if you imagine all of the West as one big satanic cult, it begins to all make sense. And then they said, ask yourself, would a satanic cult behave like this? And there's your answer. Well, it does seem to check out, although I'm not sure I really want to know. No, but seriously, it's scary. It's really scary. We have a donation here on PayPal. This one is from Stephen. Thank you very much, Stephen. And we have Mass, who just joined on Patreon. Thank you so much for supporting my work. And hold on, there's another one that I seem to have misplaced. You'll forgive me. I'll try and find it. So I think this was from Malek. So thank you to all of you for your donations. And again, please donate if you can on Patreon, on PayPal or Rumble, because these bastards demonetized my channel because I tell the truth about Gaza. So this is their way of punishing me. So, I mean, screw them. The problem is they recommend the videos less, and there's other consequences. But I still need to make a living. So if you can donate, please do. And even if you can't, just share the videos. Spread the word, open people's eyes up, because you got a chunk of society where they're just brain dead Zionists, but you got people in the middle, and I think that's most people who just don't know. They just don't have the information. Because of the education system, the media being so biased, they just don't know. And I mean, how much do you have to show them of Gaza for them to be, to win them over, for them to be, for them to see the light? Not much, because it's that bad. So let me proceed with another story here for you. Let's talk about this this aid right? This bridge, this supposed bridge they want to build. I mean, what a farce, really. Right. Have you guys heard of this pier, this bridge they want to build to deliver aid to Gaza? I mean, what do you think of that? Because I think you already know what I'm going to tell you. So let's get to it. Right, so the Americans have said that they will build a sort of pier in order for them to deliver aid to Gaza, via maritime routes, so with ships. Now, there's a vessel that's just left Cyprus, and is going to supposedly land in Gaza in a few days, although no one knows where. And I just want to highlight and explain to you the absurdity of this idea, because look, when you have the option of delivering aid to people in Gaza, literally by just opening the crossing and allowing the trucks in, because the trucks are there. You have hundreds of trucks that are ready to go into Gaza, but the Israelis won't let them, right? The Israelis won't let the trucks go in. And in the off chance where they do let them go in, they slow it down to such a pace that those trucks that do make it in daren't suffice. So, they want to build something that looks like this. This is just an example. But it's a joke. It's an absolute joke. You could just simply allow the trucks to go in. No, can't have it. So what is happening right now? They are starving the Palestinians in Gaza to death and also bombing them at the same time. Once again, the figures as of today, March 14th, you have 31,000 Palestinians killed. 13,000 of them are children. And what they're trying to do is push Palestinians all the way down south into Rafah. And now they've succeeded in that objective, because 1.7 million out of the 2.3 million are displaced. And the majority of those displaced Palestinians in Gaza, guess where they ended up? They're in Rafah. They're on the border with Egypt. And so the real agenda here, what is the real agenda? Yes, of course, kill the Palestinians and take their land. But if you can also push them into Egypt, which is another thing they tried with this voluntary migration rubbish, that's also an option, right? How benevolent. Look how generous the Israelis are. Instead of killing you, they'll just kick you out of your house and send you to a foreign country. That's not so bad, is it? So you guys remember the videos I made about the gas. You remember? These went ridiculously viral. And, I'm glad they did, because I wanted people to understand I wanted to impress upon them the importance of this scheme, because Israel and the United States have been planning this for decades. Remember, why did October 7th happen? It happened because Netanyahu went to the UN. Many people don't understand this. They think, it's because, Gaza is under siege. And yes, that's one reason. It's not the main reason. It's because of this. Look at Netanyahu when he goes to the United Nations. Just about 2 weeks before...
Any idea
before October 7th, okay?
What's really happening in Gaza and why it is happening? A few weeks ago, right before this war in Gaza ignites, Netanyahu...
You see that? No Palestine. It doesn't say Palestine. You know how the Israelis always accuse the Palestinians of wanting to wipe Israel off the map? This guy is literally holding up a map with Palestine wiped off, okay? And he then goes on to draw the plan. What is it? Build an economic corridor, okay? Goes from UAE to Saudi Arabia to Jordan to Israel and then to the EU. And of course, the idea here is twofold. On the one hand, they want to create a rival to the Silk Road that China is creating with all these partners, right? The Belt and Road Initiative. This is a rival to that. But on the other hand, they also want to get the gas that Gaza possesses. Remember, there's something called the Leviathan, which is a gas field
it's a basin rather in the Mediterranean Sea. And where in the Mediterranean Sea? It's on the Levantine coast. So that means it's off the coast of Syria, right? Today, Syria, Palestine, Lebanon, same thing. So, of course, the Israelis have worked very hard to make sure that no one else can touch this gas because they want to steal it, just like they steal, like they have already stolen parts of Palestine and parts of Syria and parts of Lebanon. Why not steal the gas as well in the sea, right? So there's enormous potential, in this basin. And to make sure no one else can touch it, the Israelis went and they bombarded and made sure none of the ports work, right? The Beirut port mysteriously exploded. No one knows why, but let's blame Hezbollah as usual. Then the Latakia port in Syria bombed, doesn't work because of the war and the sanctions on top of that, which Israel is a part of. And then the only port that's left now is Haifa. Oh, and Gaza, but who's occupying Gaza? The Israelis. So same thing. But it doesn't work. You can't take over the gas when you have Hamas and you have people living in Gaza. They'll resist, right? Which is normal. So now we begin the project of ethnic cleansing. We try to push the Palestinians out like a tube of toothpaste into Egypt, all over the world. Doesn't matter. Kill them. Doesn't matter. Just get the territory. So now the Americans are coming in thinking they're very smart. Oh yeah, they're going to deliver aid by sea. Really? Well, why not just make the Israelis let the trucks in? The trucks are already there. No. We'll deliver it by sea, right? Which takes, a couple of days. And of course, there's a famine already, and there's not even anywhere near enough to feed people for one day, never mind sustain them. This is all a cover. This is a cover. This is laying the ground. Okay, it's basically preparing the takeover of Gaza and its gas basin, and the preparation for this trade route as well. You have to understand there are so many things happening right now that no one is talking about, that no one knows. This is one, the pier, which everyone thinks is just about aid. Let me give you another. Last month, the Israeli foreign minister, Katz, goes to the EU, right? He goes to meet with the foreign ministers of the EU. And he sits down with them, and you know what he does? Instead of talking about a peace deal with Hamas, which is the whole point of the meeting, he sits down and he shows them a video. He sits down and he shows them a video of an island that he wants to build. Guess where? In Gaza. Yes, an island in Gaza. I mean, it's truly fascinating. And here, this is what it looks like. There's a whole promotional video for it. Yeah.
The Artificial Island Initiative is aimed at providing an answer to a reality that is bad for the Palestinians and not good for Israel. Today, Israel continues to be perceived as being responsible for the Gaza Strip and is, to a large extent, the only lifeline to it, even though it withdrew from the Strip over a decade ago. Construction of an artificial island with a port and civilian infrastructure installations off the coast of Gaza will provide the Palestinians a humanitarian, economic, and transportation gateway to the world.
So you get the idea, yeah? You get the idea. They think they're very smart. Mind you, this is not a new project. He came up with this, I think, when is it? Back in 2015. Yeah, something like that. I think it's 2011. Then he came up with a new version of it in 2015, 2016, and now he's still trying to push this. Oh, and guess what? He shows the EU foreign ministers another video of a railway from where to where? From India to the occupied Palestine, to Israel. Again, remember, India is the one that would be hosting this lovely trade route, right? So it goes from India, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel. So what he wants is the land route and a maritime route. What does that sound like? That sounds like the Silk Road, obviously. So So you see all these pieces of the puzzle that are coming together. It's nothing to do with Hamas. It's never been about Hamas. They want the trade route. They want the gas. And so, you know, it's so funny because by the time he was finished with this presentation, the Israeli foreign minister, the EU foreign ministers, even they were so perplexed by this. They called him, I think it was Borrell, right? Joseph Borrell. He said that, you know, the Israeli foreign minister was, you know, didn't take the talk seriously, that the videos he was showing were irrelevant. I mean, that's just funny, honestly. I mean, even the EU are like, what the hell is this? But don't worry. I'm sure when the time comes, they will become partners. Because remember, the gas is meant for the Europeans. We are in a situation, and again, I put all this together in my video, and you know, so everyone could understand it, which is that Iran is still sanctioned, right? Trump left the nuclear deal and Biden stayed out of the nuclear deal. So Iran is still sanctioned. Iran, number 2 country in the world in terms of gas reserves. So no Iranian gas or oil. Russia, they blew up the Nord Stream pipelines that connected Russia to Europe, and they also sanctioned Russia. So no Iranian gas or oil, no Russian gas or oil. You know, who's got gas and oil left that can reach Europe? The Arabs, the Middle East. And so the Israelis are now taking this by force because they signed a gas deal with the EU and with Ursula. You remember this was during the Ukraine war. And she said that they're gas partners now. Well, it's time to deliver, isn't it? And so the Israelis are desperate, and they need to deliver on their gas promises. That's, again, this is one aspect of why they're doing this. The trade route is another. And this benefits all the parties concerned. That this is why the Americans and the Europeans are allowing this genocide to happen. Yes, they have committed genocides themselves. They have no morals, but you know, the governments at least, right? So it's not like it's out of character, but they have a deep economic incentive in this project, in making sure that Gaza is destroyed, right? It's disgusting. It's truly disgusting. I mean, there's no amount of money in the world that justifies this kind of crap. There just isn't. But you have to understand why they're doing this aid peer. So once again, I recommend you go watch these part 1 and part 2 that I made. It's sort of a mini documentary, right? Because then I also went into other aspects of it, and I'll paste the links below for you to go watch them afterwards. And you'll enjoy them thoroughly, I've no doubt. And I appreciate your positive feedback on these videos. So again, it's just really nasty, you know, what they're doing. They think nobody's gonna notice. And you know, another thing with this aid, let me just point out, is that when we're talking about aid to Palestinians, they've been dropping these crates, right? They've been dropping like food crates, boxes that are filled with life-saving medication or whatever, you know, garbage they claim is in there. It's actually turning out to be expired food a lot of the time. Really just nasty business. But the point is, they've been dropping these crates in Gaza and killing people. You got people who are in Gaza, and then suddenly a box of aid falls on them and kills them. I'm not joking. Either that or the Israelis take it upon themselves, you know, out of their grand benevolence, to go and bomb the crates of supplies. Take a look at this video. Right? So 2 videos taken at the same location today. The first shows Egyptian and Belgian planes dropping humanitarian aid. The second shows Israel's army targeting hungry civilians who've gathered to obtain the aid. I mean, it's so disgusting, really. It's again, in case this isn't clear, People in Gaza are starving. There's aid being dropped by air. They rush to get food, and then they're killed by the Israelis. You know, if I hadn't seen the evidence, if I hadn't seen the proof, I would think, no, this is impossible. It's cartoonishly evil. It's like a cartoon. It's like the kind of evil you would see out of a cartoon or you know, a movie. No, it's real. I'm telling you, it's real. And the other day there was the flour massacre. You remember I talked about this with you guys. The flour massacre. You had the Israelis driving in aid. Again, thank you so much, Masters. You know, let's all bow down in front of them. The concentration camp guards decided to throw some crumbs. So anyway, they're driving in these trucks into Gaza. People are running to get flour, and then the Israelis open fire on them. And they published the footage themselves. The Israelis published the drone footage themselves, and they tried to doctor it. They tried to massage it, to work it, so you don't see it. But it's obvious. Everyone and their uncle has seen this footage and exposed how it clearly proves that the flour massacre happened. You've got dead bodies. You know, people that are moving are suddenly dead in the next scene. Whatever you think is happening in Gaza, it's 10 times worse in reality. I can assure you. So again, this excuse about delivering aid and it's just such a disgusting lie. It's such a disgusting lie. They could let aid into Gaza like that. And once again, I want to remind you that the Israelis, with this route that I talked about here, okay, they're bringing in food for themselves, you know. Okay, that is now working because they have no choice. So they've now been implementing this. You got trucks that are driving up food to the Israelis because the maritime routes don't work because Yemen have blocked it. Yemen have blocked the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. So the food has to come by land. So if there's food reaching the Israelis, then it can obviously reach the Palestinians, can it not? They just don't want to. And the fact that these Arab countries, Jordan, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, participate, I mean, it's disgusting. This collaboration is disgusting. So once again, you have to watch these videos. You know, these videos are never going to become, outdated because this project is so long. It's been in the works for decades. So again, I'll put links to part 1 and part 2 below. Give me a second. Just give me a moment, and I'll paste them below. They'll shock you. Honestly, these things will shock you if you haven't seen them. They will truly blow your mind. And of course, I talked about the trade routes as well, the water, and the canals, right? Because the Israelis have wanted for a long time to create a rival to the Suez Canal, and again, I discussed that at length in there. So watch these afterwards when you're free. There you go. Okay, you guys should see him now in the comments on Rumble and on YouTube. So enjoy and share them far and wide, because you'll understand what's driving this genocide in Gaza, why it's so evil, it's so, why the scale of it is so big. You really start to understand that the Israelis are like someone who's running to try and beat the clock, which again, doesn't justify anything what they're doing at all. On the contrary, it makes it all the more sinister and evil that this is just about money, and it's just about trade routes, and it's about the Americans also securing a foothold that where they can counter China. Again, all of this is explained there. I connected all of it together with China, Ukraine, and so on. So go watch them. I promise you that you'll have your eyes opened if you haven't seen them before. So let me show you something here. This is from Lebanon, and I want to talk to you about what the resistance have been doing in the Middle East now, because it's not just in Gaza, of course. Gaza is one front, as I've told you many times. Gaza is just one front in this war. It's certainly the most important in terms of casualties, without question. But militarily, the Israelis are fighting multiple wars, because there's a difference between massacring civilians and then having to go and fight against a real military force, right? Which the Israelis are unable to do. They are incapable of contending with Hezbollah, right? So when it comes to that, they fail. When it comes to Hamas, they are unable to contend with Hamas. So you have parallel fronts, and I want to show you what's been happening on there. Okay, just a second. Thank you again to everyone for your donations. You're very kind, and it's most appreciated. I see we've got some on Rumble. This is from Bort Khan. It says the black flag must go up in all Muslim lands. Muslims are the majority, and we have done nothing to help the cause. We are too busy fighting each other. The flag must rise. Jihad must be declared. Well, the thing is, when you look at Saudi Arabia, yeah, I mean, they're just doing America's bidding, and the family there are just looking after their own interests. When you look at Syria, I have to disagree. Well, I mean, Syria is a secular country, but nevertheless, it's Muslim majority. Again, Syria is the only country, the only one, the only state in the Middle East that is still fighting and championing the Palestinian cause. No other state in the Levant can claim the same. If you look at Lebanon, of course you have Hezbollah in Lebanon, but it's not a state. Hezbollah are just they're a political party. They're of course part of the government, but they're not the entire government. The same thing goes for the Hashd al-Sha'bi in Iraq and so on. I guess Yemen, we would have to say we're true, but Yemen is not in the Levant, and of course they still have to get rid of the hotel dwellers, the hotel dwelling government in Riyadh, which is the fake government. The Houthis need to be rightfully recognized in the UN as the legitimate representatives of the Yemeni people. Remember, most people live in Yemen, live in their area. So Makic9 says, I've been trying to find the adjective to describe the Israelis' evil, but I can't. It's something way beyond evil. You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. I don't know. It's truly beyond evil. I agree with you. So let's talk about Hezbollah. I want to talk about Hezbollah and what's been happening in I'm trying to find the damn video. I can't get it. Anyway, well, it doesn't matter. You'll have to go with that, my friends. Okay, you guys see that? Okay. So Hezbollah have fired a barrage of 100 rockets at the Israelis. Now, again, we talked about this the other day, that they fired them into the Syrian occupied Golan Heights, right? So the Syrian Golan Heights they're illegally occupied by the Israelis and have been occupied since 1967. So, when we say Hezbollah are firing, I mean, geographically they're firing at Syria, but it's Israeli troops that are in that position, okay? Just so there's no confusion. But this is the largest barrage of rockets that they have fired up until now, since October 7th. I mean, just think of that. 100 rockets. And the reason for this is that the Israelis are changing the rules of engagement. In Lebanon, on the Lebanese front, remember, this front in Lebanon is just as much a front in the Gaza war as Gaza itself. Make no mistake. Make no mistake. The war in Gaza is not just in Gaza. So what the Israelis have been doing is they've been going in and bombing deeper and deeper and deeper inside of Lebanon. Okay? So yesterday, they bombed 100 kilometers inside the border. All right? I mean, just so you understand, this was the response from Hezbollah, right? 100 rockets. And the Israelis need to understand that this is, of course, a message. It's a very clear message. No one was killed or injured, but that's sometimes the point. That's sometimes the point. Now, you can argue about the efficiency of that, but I'll tell you this, because some people are wondering, well, what's the point of firing a bunch of rockets into an empty field? I'll tell you what it is. It's called posturing, and the Americans love doing it, right? A show of force. But if you think Hezbollah are just firing rockets into an empty field, you're wrong. You're wrong. You do know that this is the first time in history that Israelis are getting a taste of their own medicine. Throughout their entire, since the beginning of their colony, what have the Israelis done? They have stolen land and kicked Palestinians out. So now, rather than Palestinians feeling that, and of course they are in Gaza, but rather than someone from Lebanon or Palestine getting a taste of this, it's the Israelis themselves. Because on the so-called border with the Israeli colony, you have they just say 60,000. I think 60,000 is in recent weeks. If you look at the total number, it's 300,000. So you have 300,000 Israelis that have had to, they've had to leg it, get packed and move away from this area. And now they're being put up in hotels and complaining. And honestly, when I tell you what's happening in these hotels, I mean, Jesus Christ, I don't even want to get into it now. But this is putting an enormous burden on the Israeli economy. Can you imagine? You got 300,000 people. Every single one of them has to have their hotel bills paid indefinitely. You don't even know until, well, they're going to be there. The transport that it took to get them there. The bus drivers, the equipment. We talked about this last time. So don't think for a second that the Hezbollah are not achieving anything with this. And again, it's the equipment. If you look at the electronic warfare, the radio and surveillance towers destroyed. I mean, when we talk about being blind or going blind in a combat scenario, this is what Hezbollah have achieved. They have blinded the Israelis. And not only that, but if you recall, a few weeks ago, the Lebanese resistance, Hezbollah, they fired at an Israeli base in Meron. Okay, this one, see that? Now, this is one of they say it's one of the highest points in quote unquote Israel. It's not. Again, this is Syria. But it is one of the most important Israeli bases because of its altitude. And it also coordinates all the drone activity in the north sector, the airstrikes, surveillance. So they launched about 60 rockets at that thing. And now, I mean, already then people are going, wow, what the hell, 60? And at that thing, you're telling me Hezbollah can reach all the way over there. 40 of the 60 hit. Well, this is even more than that. This is 100. And let me just show you the reaction from the Israelis.
Responding twice in Baalbek and also targeting things that are not spoken by the IDF. There is no explanation what was targeted as a reaction for what happened. But we have to go earlier. If you, just to make, we are in a short memory, what happened is that 2 UAVs attacking the Golan Heights, and the entries of UAVs that are coming from the back of Lebanon, mostly this is most of the places they are centralized, I mean Hezbollah, it has become the main threat to Israel. I call it like tunnels from the air. The use of UAV. There is a lot of experience now in Ukraine on the war between.
Did you hear what he said? He said this is the main threat to the Israelis. I mean, again, a threat is a funny word. You come to Palestine. No one forced you to come there. If you steal people's land, yeah, they get mad. You're the threat. But anyway, think about how significant it is. Because once again, this is why I'm telling you that the Lebanese front cannot be, considered apart. I'll let him continue.
Of experience now in Ukraine on the war between Russia to Ukraine, because the knowledge what is done and produced is coming from Iran. So the response of IDF 100 kilometer, I can estimate that it was towards the UAV, and I think that the targets were connected to the UAV or storages or industrial and other kind of things that connected. It has become the main threat. The reaction of Hezbollah of launching 100 rockets into more or less into events, I think it's a message. But till now, even I will claim that there is no crossing the depth and intensive activities. I mean, the escalation is still under control, but you climb up and you climb up, you don't know what will bring you the fire at the end that will take us to a main escalation. Till now, both sides are looking to keep the escalation in this kind of level. And I think that, first of all, look, they are launching rockets towards the Golan Heights. Towards most of the rockets are going outside of civil area and are going outside of the area, open area they are targeting. So it means there is a message by the number, there is a message from where it has been launched. But when you are looking, there is also lines that Hezbollah are not crossing.
Again, very important points that I'm inclined to agree with. Well, I mean, I mentioned them to you already before. And do you see how he, by his own admission, he says Hezbollah are not targeting civilians? Again, you heard him say it himself. And I mean, I've told you this before, but this, you can hear it from an Israeli on an Israeli channel. And we know this. The reason, in case this wasn't clear, the reason so many Israelis have evacuated the border from the border area with Lebanon, it's not because Hezbollah have actually killed any of them or threatened any of them. They're just scared shitless. They're scared shitless. So as a precaution, the Israeli army have set up a buffer. The Israeli occupation have set up a buffer zone of about 10 kilometers. And that's what's funny, is that first it was 10 kilometers. And then you had the front in a radius of roughly 30 kilometers. You know, the Israelis will fire 30 kilometers into Lebanon. Then the Hezbollah will fire 30 kilometers into Israel, and so on. And now he's saying, well, you know, when it comes to escalation, you never know what you know, what's going to be the tipping point. That's what he means. He's trying to say that you don't know what is going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. Well, is it you? You know, when you go from 30 kilometers to 100 kilometers, how is that not an escalation? Again, let me just remind you, it's the Israelis who launched an airstrike 100 kilometers deep. Okay, so you know, all of this is kind of funny in a way because they're firing at each other. It is a war, but there's an understanding, right? They're still the enemy, but you respect the enemy, not in the sense that you actually respect them or admire them, but that you're able to gauge, you're able to estimate and understand, what you're able to do against such an adversary. Right? What the limits are, what the parameters are of this engagement. And so you respect that at the very least, right? And Hezbollah are not the ones who are escalating. It's the Israelis. And they're going all the way to Baalbek and killing 4 people. Right? I'll remind you. I mean, come on. Of course it's a message when they're firing 100 rockets back. And you notice what he said also was very interesting, is that this is the that Hezbollah have gained advanced knowledge in drone usage. When he said UAV, I should have explained this to you. A UAV is an unmanned aerial vehicle. It just means drone, okay? You also have the underwater equivalent, you know, like they used, or might have used in Ukraine in any case, which has existed for a long time. So underwater unmanned vehicle. In any case, he's saying that Hezbollah are using drones a lot, and he called them tunnels from the air. I saw you guys laughing in the comments. Honestly, that was kind of funny.
To Israel, I call it like tunnels from the air.
Man, Israelis, they have obsession, like they have an obsession with tunnels. They go to bed dreaming about tunnels. I call them tunnels from the air. Tunnels everywhere. Hamas tunnels and terrorists. You gotta be easy on me. I'm still working on the Israeli accent.
Israel, I call it like tunnels from the air.
So in any case, who is this? Who's to thank for this? Iran, of course. Iran, and I love this because they used to laugh. You remember how they were laughing at Iran? They say, "Oh, look at Russia. Russia can't manufacture drones anymore. They have to resort to getting drones from Iran." Wow. Oh yeah. Well, look at that. I guess those drones win you wars, don't they? They're not laughing now. And when they said, "Oh, look, Putin has to resort to getting shells from North Korea," even more important. Oh, I guess shells win you wars. And I swear to God, I just saw some woman on CNN talking about how the Ukrainians are outgunned. They don't have enough artillery shells. Yes, I know. Thank you. I've been saying this 6 months ago. You know, they love being arrogant and like, oh, you know, the Western way is the best way. Oh yeah, no. We know what's best with technology. No, actually, this is a joke. It's a scam by the weapons manufacturers. I'll come back to that in a bit when we talk about Yemen. But you can see how the front now in this war is shifting from Gaza to Lebanon. And again, you know, if we want to talk about what this area is, I mean, this is one country. You know, these borders that you see on this map are imaginary. I mean, I don't just mean like, oh, borders are imaginary. No, like these specific ones were drawn by the UK and France. Like they just, you know, this was all of this was Syria, you know, so Syria's border was literally Gaza. That's the border between Syria and Egypt. Okay. This is barely 100 years ago. There was no Jordan. There was no, you know, Israel or Palestine or Lebanon. This was all of it was Syria and even Iraq, you know, although again, Iraq is still separate, right? But they took chunks of Syria like Mosul and they stuck it in Iraq and they took chunks of Syria and stuck it in Turkey because you remember it's the end of World War I. And anyway, I've talked about Sykes-Picot enough, but it's obvious that this is all one war because of the groups that we're talking about and the proximity. And I know they'll go and say like, oh yeah, it's because, you know, they're Shia this and Shia that. Please go away. You know, enough with this. There's literally nothing to do with that. Literally nothing to do with that. Hamas are Sunni, Iran are Shia, Syria is secular. The common denominator is fuck Israel. Get off our land. Do you understand? That is the common denominator. It's not the religion, you backwards caveman. God, this is the Western way of thinking, which created these borders in the fucking first place, right? It's like, oh, let's have a country called Lebanon where it's just Christian, and you know, let's have. It's so pathetic listening to these, you know, so-called professors who don't know their ass from their elbow. It's really pathetic. Anyway, so what happened afterwards is that so again, to recap, the Israelis go into Lebanon 100 kilometers deep. They change the rules of engagement. They bomb 4 people. They kill them, and then Hezbollah fire 100 rockets at the Golan Heights, which are Syrian but occupied by Israel. And then after that, the Israelis, quote unquote, respond. Again, I mean, you can't respond when you're the one who started the aggression, but okay. And then they released this footage of how they targeted the two moving cars. right? So they're assassinations. They're assassinations. And, you know, I mean, it's, this is how the Israelis play, right? The Israelis are not equipped or fit to you know, work on a battlefield against an opposing military force. So what they'll do is they'll do these like sneaky assassinations and a drone strike there, and you know, we'll bomb a hospital there. But on a battlefield, they can't do shit. And the proof is that it's 2006, and the proof of that is Gaza right now. I mean, 2006 was already like, whoa. But this now in Gaza, I mean, Hamas are wiping the floor with them. You know, you have to remember, just because Israel are able to massacre civilians, that doesn't mean anything in military terms. It just makes them assholes. Okay? What I'm looking for is apples to apples, right? A military force against a military force. Are civilians a military force? No, because they're civilians. So I don't compare that because I'm not an idiot. I look at Hamas, the Qassam brigades versus the Israelis. Who is winning? It's the Qassam brigades because they are wiping the floor with them. Look at the footage that's being released almost every day, and I'll show you some right now. And I also have some footage from Hezbollah. So when they were firing at this is in Mount Adir, and I want you to you heard the Israeli analyst how tunnels from the air. There's another thing that the Israelis are afraid of, which is the ATGM. And ATGM is an anti-tank guided missile. You know, you put it, it's like on a tripod, you fire it, and then you make it hit armored vehicles. But that's the thing with Hezbollah, is that they have, you know, this is a very, very heavy ordnance. So you would only use it normally on tanks. Hezbollah are like, no, you know what? We're just going to use it on everything. And the Israelis are not used to this. No one is used to this because you just don't do that. But Hezbollah have enough of these things that they're just firing them at whatever moves. So I showed you one where they were doing it against a Jeep. I think this is also against infantry. They're using it against infantry. Yeah, you can see it's doing the there you go. There's no protection from ATGMs. There's no Iron Dome. There are no countermeasures that exist today against anti-tank guided missiles. You're screwed. You're just screwed. So you know, they're not ready for that. In any case, I just wanted to bring you up to speed on, you know, regarding Lebanon, because it is a very important front. It's actually the front, if we you know, all things taken into consideration. And here you can see the photos of the assassination, the Israeli assassination in Lebanon after the strikes that came in. So this is in Tyre, right, in the south of Lebanon. Remember, the south of Lebanon is basically Hezbollah's turf. It's not you know, essentially and only or exclusively Hezbollah's turf, but in general terms, you can think of it that way. It's again, don't think of it, you know, as purely that, because you hear that stuff usually, for example, from the Israeli or the U.S. media, where they say like, oh well, South Lebanon, or if it's in Beirut, they say like Al-Dahia is you know, Hezbollah territory, and that's basically their way of saying, well, it's okay if we massacre everyone, right? Or stronghold is the word they'll use, right? A Hezbollah stronghold. No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. But you know, I wanted to show this to you because it's really important. Now look at the Israelis. If you look at a poll, the Israelis, 71% of them, according to this poll, support an invasion of Lebanon. This is a Mariv newspaper that conducted this poll. I mean, I'm just, how stupid can you be? Like, I thought they got spanked, thoroughly spanked in 2006. There was such a spanking that I remember it. You know, I mean, how old was I? I don't know, 14, 13. So, you know, how do they not remember it? Keep in mind, so forget October 7th until now. Between 2006 and October 6th, the Israelis never, ever bombed Lebanon again. I could be wrong. I think there was one instance, but you know, generally speaking, they never fucked with Lebanon again after that. Think of that. Now, of course, it's a different scenario. So, you know, all bets are off now. But just to give you an idea, like they definitely did not forget that spanking. Apparently, the Israelis did. So, you know, and, you know, I needn't remind you that of course, you have many people that have been martyred now on this front, from Hezbollah's side and also from, you know, Israelis who have been killed. So it's not like you know, again, rockets being fired into an empty ditch where cows, you know, go to pasture or something. No, this is a serious front. Make no mistake. There's no joke about it. We're not seeing the same amount of casualties like in Gaza. Of course, it's not comparable. But from a military standpoint, the Israelis, again, they're so scared of Hezbollah, they evacuated hundreds of thousands of Israelis, and they're not happy about it. They're really not happy about it. I saw a video of them, of one family in a hotel complaining. And I was thinking to myself, well, yeah, I mean, I guess I wouldn't like that either. But have you seen what Palestinians are going through? I mean, gee, how dare you complain? How dare you complain? When Palestinians get kicked out of their homes, they're in the fucking street. Or they go to a refugee camp and then it's bombed by the Israelis. And you're in a hotel and you're complaining? Then don't come to Palestine and go back to your damn country. There would be no war in that case. This would fix the whole problem. Anyway, you guys get the idea. This is the update on Lebanon. Let's go to Yemen now. Now there's a clip that I want to find this now in a second, but I want to read your comments first of all. We've got a couple of super chats here and kind donations. This one is on PayPal. Thank you very much, Stephen, for the donation, the very generous donation, and also to Katie as well for the generous donation. Thank you to everyone. I'm very grateful. I owe one of you a crab dance actually, so I guess I'll play the crab dance first. Again, YouTube demonetized my channel because I'm not allowed to say naughty things about Israel. You know, telling the truth is forbidden. So if you are able to donate a few dollars on PayPal or on a monthly basis on Patreon, please consider doing it because it would really help me continue my journalism and support independent media. So I'd be very grateful. And the links are in the description and also in the chat. So thank you very much. And of course, for those of you who join on Patreon, there's always a crab dance. Let's go.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard. Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line, claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Thank you for Iron Dome.
Thank you. والله انت كلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
We lied, we cheated, we stole.
China.
And you ain't black.
There's always the macro.
And then there's the micro.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
You talking to me?
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'll have 2 number 9s. A number 9 large.
we got him.
Because I have to do it myself. I know it's not.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Oh!
Disgusting!
She was 12, I was 30, but anyway. We'll do it live! Fuck it! Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Why you text Sender? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it! I yield my time! Fuck you!
is for
All men and women created by you know the thing.
B is for
I'm beginning to see why your wife left you.
C is for
Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch.
That's the that's the I'm getting a glass of water message. But seriously, I said we're going to talk about Yemen, but please allow me to forego that for just a moment and proceed to talk about the TikTok issue, because I think that's really the well, I'm just in the mood for it. Let's tackle that. So, you guys see this? Okay. So the House in the U.S. Congress have decided to ban TikTok. Now, why have they done this? I'll give you the two reasons, because people think it's one reason, that is because of you know, the fact that people our age, the youngins, those who are in their 20s, that are teenagers till their 20s and 30s, are listening to too much truth, that it's not good for them, and they're not brainwashed enough. So that is true, but it's also another reason. First of all, I'm going to play you the very obvious one. So this guy's from the ADL. Now, if you don't know what the ADL is, the Anti-Defamation League are an institution, an organization that have been around for decades, and their sole job, they claim that they fight anti-Semitism, but their purpose is really to go to people who are anti-Zionist and smear them as being racist and call them anti-Semites. So basically the function of any Zionist organization. Now, here's the head of the ADL, and I want you to listen to what he's saying.
Been on this show, we've talked about Instagram, we've talked about Twitter or X, and you've seen my back and forth with Elon Musk. But we need to talk about TikTok. TikTok, if you will, it is the 24/7 news channel of so many of our young people, and it's like Al Jazeera on steroids, amplifying and intensifying the anti-Semitism and the anti-Zionism with no repercussions. I've got to ask, Joe, like there's been a...
Do you hear how he's like, he almost said anti-Zionism, and then he caught himself because he's intentionally conflating the two, right? They want you to think that if you criticize Israel, then that means you're criticizing Jews. No, that's exactly our point, that it's not the case, right? But anyway, I'll let him continue.
A lot of lamentations about the fact that TikTok's ownership is Chinese, but you know what? Oracle owns 10% of the company. General Atlantic owns a piece of the company. Our friends at Sequoia Capital own a piece of the company. So does Sequoia and General Atlantic, does Oracle want to be responsible for spreading anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism? It's time.
That's his veiled threat. Like, are you sure you want to continue? Because we can make this look very nasty if you want to.
Time to talk about TikTok.
All right. So in any case, this is, you know, this is one of the recordings. I'll play you another one now. This one's from a phone call, it's a recording that was leaked, and it's just so funny. It's really the cherry on top. Just listen.
like Students for Justice in Palestine and Jewish Voices for Peace, they flicked like this.
So he's saying Jewish Voice for Peace. Again, this is a Jewish organization. And you know, they of course spend their time attacking them. So you're allowed to be Jewish, but you have to love Israel. Otherwise, you're a problem. In any case, I'll let him continue.
And went to like Iranian propaganda. The language I could show you from their toolkits, because our analysts are in their groups. We saw this again on October the 8th. It was that fast. Like the language in their toolkits was all about the Zionist entity and lots of other language that we recognize organized from Iranian
And here he goes on in another one. Hear the rest of the phone call in this one.
The issue in the United States of support for Israel is not left and right. It is young and old. And the numbers of young people who think that Hamas is, massive.
I think the whoever wrote the subtitles meant Hamas, but okay.
Was justified is shockingly and terrifyingly high. And so we really have a TikTok problem. The issue in the United States.
Yep. So he's explaining that it's a generational divide. It is. It is absolutely a generational divide. And that is what makes it so problematic, because you can't get out of it. You can't get out of it. You can't get out of it. And this is the only age group. If you look at all the age groups in the United States, they all support Israel, right? They've all been brainwashed by the establishment through the education system, by the media. But because young people, we don't watch television. We don't get our news from legacy media through print, radio, or television. We get our news online. Well, this opens up far more possibilities and far more doors and far more, deeper and potent access to knowledge, right? And so they hate this. And it's very funny because, when you talk about being a democracy, of course you should have a free press. Of course you should have access to information. They go on and on about, oh my God, look at this is repressed in Iran, and look at this is repressed in Syria. And then this is how they speak. So that's why they're banning TikTok, because people are learning too much about Palestine. And I have to admit that I may have done a video or two that went viral on the platform. So I'm sorry I got TikTok banned, but it's okay. It was for a good cause, literally. But it's scandalous. It's really scandalous. I mean, look at the votes on the House floor.
On this vote, the yeas are 352, the nays are 65.
352 in favor. 352 in favor. So overwhelming majority. Overwhelming majority. I mean, that is scandalous, right? And of course the justification that they give is so funny. I mean, it's so funny. Let me show you this clip and just listen to this garbage.
I want to address all of my colleagues who I think are confused about the First Amendment, confused about the nature of TikTok, and confused about the intentions of the Chinese Communist Party. Let me explain this really simple. TikTok is owned by ByteDance. ByteDance is in China, and when you're in China, you have to do whatever the Chinese Communist Party says you have to do. That's according to the National Intelligence Law passed in 2017. If they want you to spy for them, you will spy for them. That's how that works. They have a board member from the Chinese Communist Party on ByteDance. You wouldn't allow a radio tower owned by the Chinese to be put up right in the middle of Washington, D.C., and then allow it to just put out Chinese propaganda. You'd probably complain about that. That's exactly what TikTok can be used for, because millions of Americans are addicted to it. They see it, and the Chinese can absolutely manipulate those algorithms. The First Amendment does not give the Chinese Communist Party the right to American data or the right to manipulate the minds of Americans. That would be a really weird interpretation.
Man, he's really funny. Do you know there is actually one, well, it's not a real country, but it pretends to be a country. There is one that is allowed to operate in the United States and is allowed to spread propaganda. Is Israel. You know, if for example, you were working at RT, you would have to go and they made RT register as a foreign agent. It's a news station, just like any other, just like the BBC, just like Deutsche Welle, but they made them register as a foreign agent. The Israelis, the Israeli lobby and all these Zionist organizations, they don't have to do that, which is very weird, right? Very weird. And make no mistake, this has nothing to do with China in the sense that, oh, it's Chinese brainwashing Americans. About what? Can you name one issue? Can you show me any evidence? You can't. If you're going to tell me that China are spreading positive messages about Hamas. I mean, please get out of here. That's just ridiculous. What a joke. They don't even saying that because of how stupid it would sound, but they keep going on and on about China.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today we take a stand against the Chinese Communist Party and their efforts to turn content creators in America into foot soldiers for the CCP.
Oh, wow. I mean, I'm not in America, but I didn't know that I'm a foot soldier for the CCP. I better get a blood test or something. You know, she picked the wrong colors to talk about communism, but okay, we'll give her a pass because she doesn't seem to be she doesn't seem to be on the bright side. You know, it's funny because I recall that a few months ago, and keep in mind, this is nothing new, but we are talking about this conflict. The Israelis were hitting people up with emails and offering them to make, a good amount of money to make videos where they paint Israel in a positive light. So, you know, you want to talk about foot soldiers, maybe start there, but I take it you don't really take issue with the Israelis, of course. Now, let me explain something to you. Yes, this is about making sure that young people don't learn about Palestine, that they stay brainwashed and support Israel. You have to understand, though, that there's another part to this, and people are ignoring this or not bringing it up and not giving it, the appropriate attention it deserves. The Americans, they want to make sure that any popular technology, any popular software is controlled and owned by Silicon Valley and the intelligence agencies in America. Okay, everyone knows that since the 90s, the NSA were putting backdoors inside of Microsoft Windows. We all know that if from Edward Snowden and Glenn Greenwald, there's that graph, that famous photo from the NSA files they leaked, where you can see how every single American tech company, AOL, Google, Yahoo, Microsoft, Skype, Facebook, every single one had joined ranks with the NSA and were helping the NSA, gather data, manipulate, hack, do whatever they want with their programs. That's a fact. So for the Americans to come along and say, oh, the Chinese government are using this app to spy on people, I mean, get the fuck out of here. Who the hell are you to talk about governments using software to spy on people? Jesus Christ, I mean, you invented this. Literally. How dare you? How dare you? Do I have to pull up the graph again? Because I will. Don't make me tap the sign. Don't make me tap the sign. I'm going to tap the sign. They made me do it. Really scandalous, honestly scandalous. And then they have the nerve to talk about the Chinese, and there's no evidence. I wish there was like some evidence. No, it's just let's make it up, and people will go along with it, of course. Yeah, so here's one of the graphics, but I'll get you the one from The Guardian. Give me a sec. Yeah, this is one of them. This is just how, basically the NSA are using all of Google's data, and they tap into Google and Yahoo's stuff, right? So those are the two major search engines, at least at the time. But here's another one where they're working with the all these companies. Yeah, this one. See that? This is under Obama, right? And Bush started this under the presidential surveillance program. And then, of course, it expanded over time when the tech companies grew. See that? So this is PRISM, which is the NSA program. And all these companies, basically
being used by the NSA. Microsoft, Yahoo, Google, Facebook, Paltalk, YouTube, Skype, AOL, Apple. So to come here and then say that, oh, the Chinese are spying on people, get that, please stop. Really, I'm not even having this. But you have to understand that regardless of the smear, the United States want to control TikTok. It's basically like, if you won't give it to us, then no one can have it. That's the mentality. And I want you to remember that Donald Trump was also pursuing this policy. Donald Trump in 2020 told ByteDance that if they don't sell TikTok to an American company, he'll ban them. It's the exact same thing, right? I don't care what his stance is now. When he was president, that's what he did. He's not the president now, so I don't care what he says. But when he was the president, when he was in power, he told them, if you don't sell to an American company, doesn't even care which one, it just has to be American, meaning the US can control it. You're banned. So what does that tell you? The fact that all of these people voted for this, 362 on, overwhelmingly Republican and Democrat, in favor of taking this app offline if they don't sell to an American company, and that this is the same as Trump's policy. I mean, the writing is on the wall. It's so obvious. And then I want to show you some more shocking videos from these hearings, these circus sham charades that they conducted. It's so bad. I mean, really, watch this, for example.
No, we have moved the data into an American
but
cloud
TikTok
infrastructure.
is controlled by ByteDance, which is subject to this law. Now, you said earlier, and I wrote this down, we have not been asked for any data by the Chinese government, and we have never provided it. I'm going to tell you, and I told this when you and I met last week in my office, I do not believe you. And I'll tell you, the American people don't either. If you look at what is on TikTok in China, you are promoting to kids science and math videos, educational videos, and you limit the amount of time kids can be on TikTok. In the United States, you are promoting to kids self-harm videos and anti-Israel propaganda.
What do those two things have to do with each other? You are selling them orange juice and foot massages.
Why is there such a dramatic difference?
Senator, that is just not accurate. There's
not a difference between what kids see in China and what kids see here?
Senator, TikTok is not available in China. It's a separate experience.
Man, just utter clown. I mean, it's so painful. Here's another one, which is just as bad.
Of what nation are you a citizen?
Singapore.
Are you a citizen of any other nation?
No, Senator.
Have you ever applied for Chinese citizenship?
Senator, I served my nation in Singapore. No, I did not.
Do you have a Singaporean passport?
Yes, and I served my military for two and a half years in Singapore.
Do you have any other passports from any other nations?
No, Senator.
Your wife is an American citizen. Your children are American citizens.
That's correct.
Have you ever applied for American citizenship?
No, not yet.
Okay. Have you ever been a member of the Chinese Communist Party?
Senator, I'm Singaporean. No.
Have you ever been associated or affiliated with the Chinese Communist Party?
No, Senator. Again, I'm Singaporean.
Let me ask you some hopefully simple questions. You said earlier, in response to a question, that what happened at Tiananmen Square in June of 1989 was a massive protest. Did anything else happen in Tiananmen Square?
Yes, I think it's well documented. There was a massacre.
There was the indiscriminate slaughter of hundreds or thousands of Chinese citizens.
Please don't get mad at me for saying this, but U.S. Congress people are ignorant as fuck. I mean, really backwards, like caveman levels. It would help if they actually got like basic geography, down, and some other things. Given that they're so confident in murdering people and censoring things and controlling political thought. By the way, one of you in the comments is asking for the link to the NSA graphic. I'm more than happy to provide it. Here it is. I've pasted it in the chat. Give me 1 second. Okay, I've cut it in 2 parts because it's too long. Hold on. There you go. So, yeah, it's this one, right? I mean, it's from it's from the NSA leaks, right? That Snowden and Glenn Greenwald worked on. I mean, so eye-opening, and one of the most consequential journalistic works that I can remember. You know, but these hearings that they've conducted with this, you know, with this circus, I mean, you can tell that it's nothing to do with China. They can't actually prove a link. So we've settled this now. We know why they've banned TikTok. And remember, it's not certain yet because they have to take it to the Senate, and then Biden will of course sign it if it gets there. But you know, they've tried to do this before, and when Trump banned it, or tried to ban it, they fought it in court on First Amendment grounds and won. And then in I think it was Minnesota, they tried to ban it. Wait, Minnesota or Montana? Shit, I'm actually getting my geography mixed up. Give me 1 second. I think it was 2023 when they tried to ban it, and yeah, it was Minnesota. Yeah, I was correct. So it was Minnesota, and then they couldn't do it, and here they also take a look at this. So we've got both actually. It's great. It's a widespread effort. So they tried to ban it in Minnesota, and then Montana, they actually did ban it, and they lost in both cases. TikTok were able to go to court and say, look, this on First Amendment grounds, you can't ban us. That's the point of what I'm trying to summarize here. And you know, the thing is that whether they win in court or not, the point is that the U.S. government are so clearly, they're so happy and so able and ready to go and ban an app because it taught people about the massacres that are happening in Gaza. It taught people about what Zionism is. It taught people about, you know, how the ADL and how other organizations specifically target people and call them anti-Semites just because they're anti-Israeli. So all of these things were exposed, right? And like the video that I did with the gas, the gas analysis with the you know, I did this mini documentary basically in 2 parts, which I showed you earlier. You know, all of these things went mega viral on TikTok. And they just hate it. They can't stand it because if they can't control it, it's bad. Knowledge that they can't, you know, skew and distort and smudge, bad. That goes to show you how little they actually respect free speech. They hate it. They hate it more than anything in the world. That's what the Israelis think of free speech. That's what the American Congress thinks of free speech. They loathe, they despise free speech. It's the worst thing on earth for them. Lo and behold, this is just one of many examples, not to mention the fact that, you know, you say the wrong thing, you get put on a list and spied on, which is arguably much worse than an app being banned. But you take my point. You know, I'll also just end with saying that when it comes to national security, I mean, how can you sit there and then, you know, claim that the United States national security, that's a joke. That's really a joke. If anyone is going to complain, the Chinese should complain because of how much the effort the United States, how much energy the United States have directed towards attacking them for a million reasons. And yeah, here's also a lovely message from Nancy Pelosi during the session in Congress.
This is not an attempt to ban TikTok. It's an attempt to make TikTok better. Tic-tac-toe, a winner.
Wow. Oh my God. I mean, she's so inspirational. What an inspirational woman. I'm taken aback. I don't know what to say. Tic-tac-toe, a winner. Ban bombs, not apps. I mean, please. Please, I wish Code Pink could get this message into the heads of people like her. I wish, because if they actually spent this energy banning bombs, well, they'd make no more money, but the world will be a better place. I really wish that they could get this message through, and they do good work, Code Pink. They really do. You know, I think a founder, Medina Benjamin, I see her going around, you know, Capitol Hill the whole time, just like showing people pictures of dead children in Gaza and saying, does this not bother you? And they don't want to look because they know that it's wrong. They know that it's wrong. Honestly, just think of the fact there's an election coming up. What are the people in government doing? They're directing their efforts towards protecting Israel's reputation rather than passing healthcare, for example, Medicare for all. Who even talks about that anymore? It's not but a distant dream. Free college, passing things that would help people in pre-K or for housing to fix a homelessness crisis in America. So many issues they could be addressing. So much money that has gone towards war in the last 2 years, towards Ukraine, towards combating the Russians just because they hate Russians, towards protecting Israel because Israel is an American outpost in the Middle East. Think how many good things they could have done with this speed. You saw how quickly they got into Congress and voted to ban TikTok. Why don't they act with the same agency when it comes to things that Americans actually need? What about the infrastructure, for example? There's a million things they could have fixed instead of focusing on this. But of course, Israel's reputation comes first. And you know why this is, of course, right? I said Israel is an American outpost in the Middle East. It used to be a British one, but now it's French. Sorry, used to be a British and French one, but now it's American. It served colonial powers who were shaping the Middle East, right, to have Israel in the middle, to divide and conquer. But furthermore, the reason they were able to do this with such agency and urgency is because the AIPAC lobby, which is the main Israeli lobby in America, they have such influence in Congress. They're able to just go and get a number of senators and in this case, people in the House to sign off on anything they want. $1 billion for Iron Dome, $3.8 billion a year in military aid, another 100 million if they need it, or another billion if they need it. And in this case, banning TikTok to protect Israel's image. I mean, have you ever seen anything so pathetic? Have you ever seen anything so pathetic? They're so afraid. But you know what? I take this again as another badge of honor, as I'm sure all the others who've done similar work on TikTok and educating people about what Zionism really is. What a badge of honor. What a badge of honor. It shows you that they're scared shitless. They're so scared because they know what they're doing is wrong. They know this deep down. And there's nothing bad in exposing Zionism. On the contrary, it's a moral duty that we all have. And before I bid you farewell, the obvious conclusion here is to follow my TikTok. So it's just my name. My handle is my name. It's at RichardMedhurst. So TikTok.com at RichardMedhurst. I'll put it up on screen. There you go. See that? I'm pasting the link in the box, and do make sure you follow. Thanks again to all of you. And let me read some of the donations that we've received in the last minute. So we've got a donation on PayPal. This is from Marissa. Marissa, it's good to see you. It says, I used to work for Code Pink, but couldn't afford to live on the salary. They do good work, though. Medea was my boss. Yeah, I was actually thinking of you when I said this. I didn't know if you'd be watching. That's crazy. It's good to see you, Marissa. I know that rent is horrendous in San Francisco. I can't imagine it's much better in Washington. And again, this goes, this speaks to my earlier point, which is that they could have done a million things in Congress to fix rent prices or provide people with a cheap but secure and good public housing. No, let's just kill Palestinians. That's more important. It's scandalous. It's truly scandalous. thank you also to Maria. Says, I'm just wondering if anyone else feels nauseous when an American propagandist says Chinese Communist Party. Also, is anyone else getting the fear-mongering threat to America ads on Rumble? Yeah, I do feel a bit nauseous to be honest. You know, it's so ridiculous. Look, China. The thing with China is that there was an agreement, you know, an unspoken agreement when the United States and the West began outsourcing all the production to China, which is basically that, look, you know, we'll give you technology or know-how, and you give us cheap labor. Okay, this is the contract, this is the agreement, and this worked. But when China started becoming too big for them to control, now they use different language. So if you look at Hillary Clinton, for example, 10 years ago, no, it's a bit more than that. I think 2008, 2010, right? So about 14 years ago, when she's traveling to visit Beijing, and she's talking about the Chinese in a completely different tone. I mean, it's the opposite of everything you hear now. And this is Hillary Clinton. I mean, like, she's a witch. Hillary Clinton is a witch. But obviously, she wasn't saying this to be nice. She was saying this because the United States wanted their money, right? And if you, as you all know, China, as a matter of fact, they have America by the balls because I think they own more dollars than the United States, right? They've bought all this debt. In any case, that's another topic. But my point here is that they used to have a very, you know, symbiotic relationship and dynamic. And then when you know you start becoming too successful, the Americans perceive this as some sort of threat. The Chinese don't think this way. The Chinese they really don't think this way. I mean, their foreign policy is just completely different from diplomacy in the West. And obviously, you know, when we talk about Western diplomacy, it's rather the lack thereof which concerns me. Western diplomacy can be very effective when it's really genuine diplomacy, when it's actually intended on problem solving and not, you know, creating chaos. So, but we don't have that anymore. There's no Western diplomacy left in the world, if there ever was any. So, excuse me. And I just wanted to say that the Chinese never presented a threat to anyone, as you very well know. And the threat to America, I mean, I don't know what that even means. America is a threat to the world. At least the American government is. We've got another donation on PayPal. This is from Marissa. Says, finally ordered from Hirbago. Well, thank you again, Marissa, and I'm glad you did. You know, you have to show me which color you got. So you can't go wrong with them. We have several people who just signed up on Patreon. Thank you guys very much. Thank you to Rami, Teresa, for signing up, and I will play you guys a crab dance in just a second. Let's go.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard.
Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line, claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Thank you for Iron Dome.
Thank you. والله انت كلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
We lied, we cheated, we stole.
China.
And you ain't black.
There's always the macro.
And then there's the micro.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
You talking to me? Ladies and gentlemen,
I'll have 2 number 9s, a number 9 large.
we got him.
Because I have to do it myself. I know it's not.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Oh!
Disgusting!
She was 12, I was 30, but anyway.
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Why attack Sanders? Why? Oh, you're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
So again, thank you to everyone who's helped out to support the show. Once again, I hate to nag you, but YouTube demonetized the channel because they don't like people telling the truth about Israel. So if you're able to throw a few bucks my way, please do. You can do it on PayPal or monthly on Patreon or on Rumble, and I would be much obliged. And again, if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't subscribed on Rumble yet, please make sure you do, because I think we're well over 200,000 subscribers on YouTube, but I'm trying to get Rumble up to the same level. So I need your guys' help, please. It's very important we have a backup, especially in this you know, this climate. So let me talk to you a bit more about the resistance in the Middle East. Give me a second.
And here they are.
So this is what the Iraqis were up to.
Where there's been some, rather minor
which is wild. Again, I mean, absolutely wild.
Minor advances recently on the battlefield with the Russians, and
so the Iraqis struck the Ben Gurion airport, right? And they also struck Haifa. I mean, you have to understand how startling it is that the Iraqis are able to strike this far and strike this deep into occupied Palestine. Let me pull up this map, for example. I picked this starting point here at Abu Kamad because this is considered traditionally a crossing for the resistance, right? And if you look at the distance, it's 500 kilometers. It's not just the distance, also it's the fact that they're hitting their targets, right? So this is the other day. This is on the 6th of March. They hit Haifa, which is the port, and that was the second time in 3 days, and they disabled a power plant, and they plunged the airport into darkness. And then again yesterday, they struck Ben Gurion Airport, which is again the largest airport in occupied Palestine. And think of how crazy that is, because when we talk about the Gaza war, people again are always thinking that it's happening just down here in Gaza. It's clearly and obviously not. And the fact that, you know, the Iraqi resistance can hit anywhere in occupied Palestine is wild. It's absolutely wild. On top of that, the Iraqi resistance have been able to hit Eilat. So again, when we talk about Haifa, that's the Israeli port in the Mediterranean Sea over here. Eilat is down here in the Red Sea. Okay. Now, traffic at this port has been rendered. I mean, it's been driven down to zero basically because of the Yemeni.
Sides are losing a lot of soldiers
because of the Yemeni blockade. You know, I mean, what they have done there, it's really incredible. The fact that they've been able to stop all trade, grind it to a halt, and make the Israelis resort to bringing their supplies through a land route, which is costing them enormous amounts of money. So the fact the Iraqis can strike in Eilat and Haifa, that Hezbollah are able to strike also in the Red Sea and on the Mediterranean. I mean, this leaves pretty much every member of the resistance, whether it's Iran, whether it's Syria, Iraq, Hamas, Hezbollah, or Yemen. This makes sure, this means that every member of the resistance axis is able to hit the Israelis at any place, whether it's in the Mediterranean or in the Red Sea. That is colossal. You have to understand how crazy that is. This was unimaginable before. Unimaginable. And it shows you once again that the strategy that the West have employed of trying to grind down the resistance axis has failed. It's failed during the last 4 months, and it's failed during the last decades. If anything, Hezbollah have even more weaponry now, more advanced weaponry, and they are able to operate that weaponry to great extents, right? To great distances and in a radius that encompasses all of Palestine. Now, Yemen, the same thing. I showed you already before, like how crazy it is that Yemen can fire all the way from here to Eilat.
Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. So what's happened is you've had the spread of technology from Iran to all these members of the resistance. And I mean, it's necessary. You know, what is so strange about Iran helping people to fight a colonizer? You know, 50 countries with a zero, 50 countries were supplying Ukraine. Not, I think, not all of them with lethal, but at least 30 when you count NATO. So the majority of them were giving Ukraine weapons. So what's wrong with Iran supplying these countries? And this is a legitimate cause because they're actually occupied. Syria is occupied by Israel. Palestine is occupied by Israel. Lebanon is occupied by Israel. Iraq, I mean, they've been destroyed by the United States. They've suffered immensely at the hands of the Zionists and the United States, as have Yemen. They have every right to defend themselves. It's not like Iran is going to a country on the other side of the planet, like the Americans are doing, and then supplying someone to cause trouble. These are Iran's neighbors. They're neighbors. We already saw what happened in Afghanistan. We already saw what happened in Iraq. You know, we know what the United States brings to this region, and it's not good. So this is the only counterweight. It's the only counterweight available. And it's an effective counterweight, and it's a necessary one, and it's a legal and a moral one, right? I don't care what anyone says. You know, defending yourself is enshrined in the Geneva Convention and the UN Charter. It's your legal right under international law, and by any means necessary. You want to throw donuts, rocks, RPGs? I don't care. It's your issue. It's up to you, but don't let anyone tell you otherwise. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. The law is crystal clear. And I want to tell you, in addition to what Iraq have accomplished here, which is really, I mean, really remarkable, but they're not telling you in the media because how embarrassing it is. Remember, the Americans are occupying Iraq. They're still in Iraq, and they're still in Syria. They have a no lid on the situation. This is like an out of control fire for the Americans and the Israelis. And I want to just pose a question in this way. If someone was giving you a beat down, and then you have a second and a third person, wouldn't you be screaming about this? We only hear the Israelis ever talk about Hamas. Sometimes they mention Yemen, but most of the time they only talk about Hamas. Don't you find it weird that almost every day the Americans and the Israelis are getting hit by Iraq, they get hit by Syria, they're getting hit by Hezbollah, they're getting hit by Yemen, and they don't say anything? How weird is that? It's because they know that they asked for this, and they know how embarrassing it is. It is better not to say anything, basically. They are not prepared for this. They're not prepared for this. I mean that like physically and also literally and figuratively. I want to show you what Yemen did as well, and I swear to God, this made me laugh so much. This made me laugh so much. I was watching a segment on Fox, okay, about this, and they were basically talking about how Yemen had fired, I think, over 20 drones, something like 28 drones, on some on commercial ships, but mostly on U.S. ships, right? So again, just to be clear, Yemen are firing on commercial ships that are linked to Israel. Other ships are free to pass. But not only that, Yemen are also firing on American ships, on military ships. So if you think Yemen are afraid or deterred in any fashion or in any manner by the presence of the U.S. Navy, you're sorely mistaken. They don't give a fuck. And why should they? After all, the Americans are the ones invading their country and their space and who bombed them and made them suffer. So, the Yemenis have every right to defend themselves. They're in their own country. And so, they fired, here you can see they fired 28 drones. And the Americans say they shot down 28. We don't know where the others landed. You always have to pay attention to the headlines, because the Yemenis might have fired 30 or 40 and the rest of them hit, right? I'm telling you that the drones are Yemen's way of going easy on the Americans, because if they had fired these anti-ship ballistic missiles, and again, these are the Americans who said this themselves, you've got like 30 seconds to react or you're gone. Okay, now we're talking about military ships. Obviously, it's going to depend now on the class. You know, what are we talking about? A submarine, a dinghy boat, a destroyer, an aircraft carrier? It's going to depend. But I'm just generally speaking, we're seeing Yemen and Hezbollah use military technology in ways that haven't been adapted before. So it's difficult to apply countermeasures to that. And the fact that they're not deterred, I mean, what can you do? What can you do? The thing that they said on Fox, which made me laugh so much, because I swear to God, get your calculators out, although we can do this with mental math. Please get your calculators out and wait for it. 28 drones they shot down, right? 28 drones. Okay. Now, the Americans, this is on Fox, mind you, okay? We're saying that every single missile used to shoot down a Yemeni drone costs $2 million. So, and the Yemeni drone costs a few hundred or a few thousand. Let me repeat that. You got a Yemeni drone that costs a few $1,000s being shot down by an American missile that costs $2 million. How much money was just wasted for 28? I count 56. $56 million at least. I mean, look, man, even if you didn't hit the ships, you already won just by bleeding the enemy of financial resources. Now, the sad thing here is that it's actually the American taxpayer who's being bled, and Americans weren't even asked if they're okay with this. It's just like, fuck you, you know, we're going to go bomb people whether you like it or not, as usual. So, you know, I find this so funny, and I told you this before about the Royal Navy. So, you know, you've got the USS, which are US Navy, and then His Majesty's ships, the HMS. The Royal Navy are using Sea Viper missiles. Each one costs over £1 million. So again, do the math. In this case, you know, be 28, 29, 30 million pounds. But we know that it was the United States who shot down most of these. I mean, what so funny. So funny. And as you go down below in the article, you can see it was 37 drones that were fired. So if they only shot down 28, where did the rest of them go? These are the questions that need answering, right? And I think it's quite remarkable that Yemen have risen to the challenge. They've done what Egypt could not do or would not do, which is to close the Red Sea, to really give two middle fingers to the West and say, you know what? You're not going to use the Arab trade routes while you're killing Arabs. Tough shit. Go around Africa, go down to Antarctica and come back up. Tough shit. Oh, and you know what? Any of you who try to pass will be shot down. You know, and of course they tried to do it without killing anyone. Unfortunately, 3 people died the other day. But I mean, you know, the Israelis, every time someone dies in Palestine, they say you should blame Hamas. Okay, well then blame Israel, because they keep bombing Gaza. They're the reason the blockade is in place. So, I'm honestly walking on the Israeli flag. I mean, there's a British flag over there. Honestly, I don't. What can I say, man? We colonized Yemen once, bombed them and starved them with the Saudis, and now again, I can't blame them. How can I blame them? How can I sit here and blame them and act like the victim? You know, this is very sad also, because this ship here, that the Rubiamar, which again I did a video about because of these stupid journalists or so-called journalists who basically smear merchants for the press, the gutter press. You were giving me crap about this. Well, yeah, it sunk in the end, didn't it? And I was right. And the point here is that all of the fertilizer that's on board, who gets hurt by that? Is this British territory? No. Is this American territory? No. The people that are going to get hurt by the sinking of this ship are the Yemenis. So who the fuck, you know, says that the West have the right to complain about this? You have no right to complain about this. You're not suffering any consequences. The crew got off safe. No one died. But it's Yemen's waters that will be polluted because of this, because of Israel, because of the West. So just, I wanted to give you sort of a brief summary about what's happening on the Iraqi front, on the Lebanese front, as we were talking about Hezbollah, and now on the Yemeni front. You have to always, you have to always keep in mind and bear in mind that this is a multi-front war. It's not just confined to Gaza. Gaza is the focal point, of course. It's the focal point, but these are just as important. My God, $56 million. Oh, really, just what a scam. What a scam. I mean, weapons manufacturers, they're having fun. They're making a lot of good money. They moved on from Ukraine to Gaza. The party just keeps on going, whatever. Let me talk to you about this this Palestinian boy. So let me tell you about a Palestinian boy, and this happened in the West Bank, which again, this just goes to show you how Israel's brutality knows no bounds. So this poor boy was playing with fireworks because it's Ramadan, right? And he's 13 years old. Okay, and his name is Rami al-Halouli, and he was shot in the chest by an Israeli soldier while he was playing with fireworks. So, of course, the Israelis and all these, idiot keyboard warriors would be like, oh, well, he shouldn't have played with fireworks. No, the Israelis shouldn't be in fucking Palestine. How about that? The Israelis should fuck off back to their homes outside of Palestine. How about that? I don't know what kind of moral compass you have, but playing with fireworks, it does not merit an extrajudicial death sentence, you fucking cavemen. So, they shot him in the chest, they killed the poor boy.
Bloodshed in occupied East Jerusalem too. This was 12-year-old Rami last night, shot and killed as he lets off a firework. His father stands over his body in shock. His mother rushes out from their nearby home in despair. Rami was shot by an Israeli border policeman from this tower. They say fireworks and Molotov cocktails had been thrown towards them earlier this week. But Rami's family say he was just playing around with friends, celebrating the start of Ramadan. The video that captured his death clearly shows he posed no threat.
نقول إنه هم يعني مسافة بعيدة يعني إنه هو ماسك مثلا زي ما بقولوا مفرقعات هو مش عندهم عن محسونة.
He was holding a firework, but they were far away from him. They could have used the loudspeaker to tell him to go away. They could have shot with tear gas, but not like this. It means they wanted to kill him.
Do you think there'll be any justice, any accountability for what happened to your son?
لا لا مش طريق الخطأ.
No, they did not do it by mistake. The bullet was directed at his heart. They wanted to do it.
يعني إنه على القلب دغري يعني هو مات على السريع يعني أنا لقيته على الأرض ميت.
She said he died quickly, and she found him. She found him laying dead on the floor. He was already dead.
Rami's body is still being held by the police. His family say they've been warned to only hold a small funeral.
Oh yeah, so this is another lovely British invention. And when I say it's a British invention, you have to understand something. Please listen. Pay attention. The Israelis, they withhold the bodies of Palestinians that they kill. And they can do it for any amount of time. And when I say it's a British invention, I don't mean like, oh, this is a law that they copied from the United Kingdom. No, 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 no. This is the exact British law under the Emergency Defense Regulations from 1945. Because back then there was an Arab uprising, an Arab revolt, and then basically in order to put down, the Arabs and stop them from asking for independence, they had this like martial law put into place. And so the Israelis, rather than make their own version of it, they just said, well, the British Empire forgot to cancel the law. I mean, what a load of rubbish. The fucking king, again, excuse my French, but it's just so outrageous. The king literally signed a decree canceling this law, but because it wasn't published in the same newspaper that originally announced the law, the Israelis are like, they pretend like, oh yeah, well, it's still in place. Well, okay, well, why are you applying British law on Palestinians? Do you know what else it allows them to do? They can demolish your house on the spot, just to bulldoze it. You know, they can ban the press from publishing a story they don't like for any reason. And if you don't comply, your journalist card is taken away and you're sent to prison. They can arrest you without charge, without trial. You have tons of people in the West Bank who have been to prison for years and they don't even know why. Not allowed to know why. It's secret. So, you know, the fact that they murdered this boy and then on top of it, they withhold the body, like it's so egregious. The insult, the affront is so clear. It's so plain. The only response you can possibly have towards the Israelis is fuck you. And fuck everything you stand for and have ever stood for and will ever be. Because you are shits. You are little Zionist shits. Look at this disgusting weasel, Ben-Gvir, who's an Iraqi Jew and now the Minister of National Security. I mean, just listen to this, man. He's a I mean, to call him a lunatic is an insult to lunatics, honestly.
חברים, אתם אומרים ילד בן 12 ודי עם זה. ילד בן 12 שהוא מחבל. ילד בן 12 שסיכן לוחם שלנו. ילד בן 12 שזורק זיקוקים וזורקים בקבוקי תבערה ברמות, בקבוקי תבערה בשועפאט, בקבוקי תבערה. אני ראיתי את הסרטון. זה הספיק לי כדי להבין שהלוחם הזה הגן על כולנו, הגן עליי, עליך, הגן על כל מי שנמצא כאן, וזה הספיק לי כדי לבוא ולומר, אני מעריך אותו. דקה של המשרד שאני לא באתי לבקר.
I mean, what am I supposed to say? Like, a boy playing with fireworks. Jesus, you really? You have to murder a boy for playing with fireworks? What is that? I mean, it's not like he came and lit it in someone's, you know, pressed on someone's face. There's nothing to eat, nothing like that. Really, just there's something so profoundly sick and wrong with Israeli society, or if you will, with Zionism. You know, yes, of course, there are some nice Israelis in the world. Of course, yes. Every country or place has good people and bad people. That's not the point. Zionism itself, look at what it produces. Look at what it produces. I mean, it's just so disgusting. You know, I mean, the funny thing is this guy, Ben-Gvir, was banned from joining the Israeli army because he's such an extremist. Like, even by Israeli standards, he's a fucking lunatic. What can I say? I really don't know. I really don't know. And this is just one of many cases. Many cases. I mean, I talked about Iyad Hala, for example, autistic, 32 years old, shot dead, executed. You know, it's so. Once again, the affront, the attack, the malicious nature of it is broadcast in such a fashion. It's like the Israelis want to murder you and inflict the maximum amount of pain and make you know that they're doing it on purpose, and then, you know, turn around and act like they're innocent victims. I mean, it's like some sick, twisted, you know, Twilight Zone episode. Let me show you what happened today in Gaza. So yeah, hold on. Thank you for the donation to Ali. I appreciate it very much. Says, will there be an event you are going to where we can get a chance to meet you, Richard? Love your work, by the way, man. Genuinely,
deserving of utmost recognition and respect for real justice and morals. Well, you're very kind. I'm often giving speeches in London during like anti-NATO rallies or similar things like that. So I mean, if there is, I don't know actually where you're based, but if you're in the UK, then certainly when I'm giving one of those when I'm attending one of those rallies or speaking at one of those rallies, I don't know otherwise where. I'm trying to think of if there's anything planned in the US at the moment, but there's nothing that comes to mind. But you're very kind, Ali. I really appreciate your words, and I take them to heart. Thank you. And let me show you what happened in Gaza. Once again, it's so the Israelis decided to bomb an aid distribution center in Gaza today that belongs to the United Nations. Now, let me explain something to you. In a war, what the United Nations do is they'll go to the warring parties and they will give them their coordinates on a daily basis, specifically so they don't get bombed, right? They'll come and say, we are right here. We've got X amount of workers. They're doing this. They'll be in this area from this time to that time. Please don't kill us. What do the Israelis do? They go and kill them. So there's an aid distribution center. They killed 1 UN worker and they injured 22 civilians. You get the idea. You get the idea. And then, of course, you know, watch Blinken try and weasel his way out of this. They have no shame.
What we've seen in terms of food, as well as other supplies, going to the second part of your question, is, of course, the Israelis have been not only allowing food in, they have been working to make sure that it gets in and gets to people who need it. We've seen throughout this process, first the opening of Rafah back in October, after my first visit to Israel.
Again, I find this very funny because if first of all, there's no food coming in, there's no food coming in, and then on top of that, the little amount of food that is left, that is in the UN or UNRWA distribution centers. What do the Israelis do? They go and bomb it. So, like, to make sure that everyone starves. So when he says that there's food coming, I mean, how can you believe this man? He's such a liar.
So I saw the reports of the strike today on the UNRWA facility. And first and foremost, our condolences go out to the families, the loved ones of those who apparently lost their lives in this strike. I don't know the details of what happened. I do know, based on what we've heard from the Israeli government, that the IDF is investigating, the Israeli Defense Forces are investigating this incident. And of course, we will look closely to see what that investigation produces. Without getting into the specifics of this incident, because again, I don't know the facts, I think it does, as a general matter, underscore something I talked about a few minutes ago, and that's the imperative of having much better and much more consistent deconfliction. Humanitarian workers, the agencies, they need to be able to do their jobs with as much security and as much confidence.
Why are you telling us? And how do you not know the details? I mean, I find this incredible. Every time they ask them something uncomfortable, oh, well, you know, I haven't seen the report, so I can't comment on it, you know, because I haven't seen it. Yeah. Okay. This guy is the equivalent of the, you know, for those who are European, he's the equivalent of a foreign minister, right? He's the foreign secretary. So he is
the top envoy sent by the executive, and he, you know, the United Nations is obviously there's a separate post for U.S. ambassador to the UN in each headquarters, but nevertheless, you know, his top liaison would be with the United Nations. So especially during a war like this, and not just any war because of its scale, but the fact that UN staff, specifically UN staff, are being hit, and he acts like he doesn't know. I mean, okay, fine. You know what? Let's play devil's advocate. You don't know. Fine. And what about all the others that have been killed? Jesus Christ, I'm losing count. What is it, 158? Now it's 159, I suppose. So what about the other 158 UN staff that have been killed? Never seen before in any war. Can you imagine what that means? Didn't see it in Angola, didn't see it in Rwanda, didn't see it before in the same place in Palestine, didn't see it in Syria. Nowhere have you had this many UN staff murdered. And never mind the civilians and of course the other healthcare workers and aid workers and journalists, of course, right? These all come into the same category. You don't touch them. What about them? What were you telling the Israelis? You say that it's important to protect them. What did you tell them? Because obviously it doesn't fucking work, does it? Excuse my French. Again, it's very difficult not to swear when you're dealing with this kind of nonsense.
This is possible. And look, you're in a war zone. You have a terrorist group that is firing from hospitals, from schools, from.
Really, you have a terrorist group. Well, how many UN workers have Hamas killed? Because as far as I can tell, it's zero, right? Unless you have anything to the contrary, but you don't. He's not even saying that. He's trying to make it sound that way, but he can't because he knows it's a lie. So who are the terrorists? We got 31,000 people killed, and 13,000 of them are children. And you want to talk about terrorism? I mean, Jesus Christ. So, you know, firing from a school is your definition of terrorism. You know, it's really funny because the Israelis, I swear to God, this is true. They have plaques, like commemorative plaques, outside schools, outside theaters, hospitals, synagogues, commemorating the fact that they hid weapons in there when they were fighting the British, like as if this is their fucking land or something, you know? I swear to God. And I have tons of photographs of them. I'm saving them for another time when I show you. But if you look on Google, you'll find it. It's out in the open. It's on the street.
Apartment buildings, but the Israeli military, the Israeli government have a responsibility and an obligation to do everything possible to ensure that the humanitarians can do their jobs. And among other things, that means making sure that if there's a humanitarian facility that's clearly identified, it's not struck. It means making sure that if there's a supply mission, a convoy, trucks going to a particular place at a particular time, that the Israeli military does everything possible to ensure its secure passage. So this is an ongoing process. It's made, again, incredibly difficult by the environment in which it's being conducted, but it is a responsibility and an imperative for the Israelis.
I mean, is anyone hungry? I've got a word salad. I've got a spare word salad. One of you in the comments said that. Hold on, this is really good. Where was it? Victoria Newland is off somewhere shedding her skin like a snake. I love it. I'll talk about her in a second. But wow. I mean, he's full of it. He's really full of it. You know, I should remind you that Blinken is Jewish, but I mean, you know, I don't think anything of it. But the thing is that in the West today, and one of the people at the Oscars who won an Oscar spoke about this, that they have the Zionists have conflated, they've stolen basically the Holocaust and also Jewishness, just being Jewish. And that's what you see with people like Blinken. You know, they have basically made sure that you know, their religion now becomes conflated with Zionism. So it's basically it's conflict of interest. It's very difficult for him to separate the two. And the funny thing is that even if we had someone else who's a supposed, Catholic or whatever, they do the same thing. They do the same thing because the whole institution, the whole US government is Zionist. It needs an outpost in the Middle East. It needs to have that, that colonial lily pad over there so they can, keep everything in chaos, divide and conquer. You must know this. I mean, you must know this. I'm not going to go too much into detail now, but Blinken is really a liar. And honestly, we need to have a Nuremberg 2.0. We need to have it. And one of the people who has to be dragged off there is Blinken. I know this guy, he speaks with like a soft voice and he tries to come across as someone who's reasonable and so on. I don't care. It doesn't gloss over his behavior. It doesn't. Some people might argue it makes it worse because I think some of you in the comments called him Charles Manson or something. Really, really psychotic, evil behavior. He's no better than Netanyahu or Biden. Of course not. I mean, he's been conducting this shuttle diplomacy, as they call it. And just basically what he does is he goes to the Arab countries like Morocco and the UAE, and he asks them to deliver threats to Syria and to Lebanon and so on, right? To the resistance. Like, don't do anything. That's what he did in the first stages of the war. And now what he's doing is he's trying to keep the war going as long as possible so the Israelis and the Americans can complete their goals, which we talked about with the gas and so on. And again, I did separate videos on that. So, it's been 6 months now. I mean, 6 months of this. If they weren't shamed by now into stopping, and if they weren't ashamed of themselves by now, nothing is going to stop these people. They're really, truly, in every sense of the word, mass murderers. You need to understand this. You have to remember this. They're mass murderers. 31,000 people dead. Killed by Israel, killed by American bombs and German bombs. How scandalous. How scandalous. And even the United Nations are not safe. When I say even the United Nations, because you would think there would be like a semblance of because if they think Palestinians, they should all be killed, they're goyim and all this stuff, you would think maybe they would spare the UN staff because the UN staff are a mix of local and foreign and so on. No. It's just like straight up, we're going to wipe all of you out. From A to Z, all of you. I've never seen anything like this. Here's, this is from Martin Griffiths, okay? So he's from OCHA. And he said here that devastating news for our colleagues in Gaza who have borne so much loss already and for the families they were trying to help. How are we to maintain aid operations when our teams and supplies are constantly under threat? They must be protected. This war has to stop. Now, here is where I blame the UN because this language is too soft. I'm sorry. If you're going to talk about, well, I'll lose my job. What, dude, your colleagues are literally losing their lives. Who cares? What's more important? Like, how many more people in the UN have to die? Like 165? Is it 170? So, does someone have a pair of balls left in UNRWA or OCHA? Again, I'm not trying to knock on their, I'm not trying to pick on them. It's just I'm frustrated. You would think that they have a little more of a louder voice than the Palestinians because they can liaison with the headquarters. No. Really disgusting. And you have to understand about something about the Americans is that the United States have always violated international law. They've always given the Israelis a pass, but this is different. This is different. I'm not going to show you the next video, but there's a guy who, I mean, it's so horrific. It's so sad. It's someone in Gaza, and he basically he finds his brother on the ground, like in a ditch,
while he's going to get food, and it's just.
يا ورد علي يا اخوي حبيب قلبي ولا كنت اموت عشانك علي يا اخوي حبيب قلبي يا ورد علي يا اخوي حبيب قلبي ولا كنت اموت عشانك هو يا الله يا منتصر يا حبيب قلبي.
So, you know, the point is that if you're in Gaza, you're going to get starved to death. If you try to get food, you'll get bombed. And the people distributing the food in the UN are also getting bombed. You cannot reason with the Israelis and the Americans at this point. You cannot reason with them. And then they want to turn around and act like they're more civilized and, you know, like they care about human rights, international law. Jesus Christ, I've never seen anything like this. These are so far you have 25 people who've died of starvation in Gaza and 31,000 killed in total. But right now it's getting really, really bad. It's turning into, you know, it's going from hunger to famine. And these are some photos of children in Gaza, and it's really awful. I mean, You can see the text, right? You can see what it says. Fadi Zent, a 6-year-old Palestinian boy, is facing severe malnutrition due to the Israeli blockade in Gaza. Fadi, who suffers from cystic fibrosis, is lacking essential medicines and specific dietary requirements for his condition. So once again, even as a healthy adult or, you know, child, if you're starving, it weakens your immune system. But if you're in need of life-saving medication, or let's say you're injured, right? You're running a fever. You need access to clean water. You need food. You need medicine. And all of these things are being systematically denied to people in Gaza. How dare the Israelis come and then act like this is, you know, it's like a war with them and Hamas. It's just Hamas. No, I'm sorry, it's not. And if you go on CNN and you go on all these mainstream media websites, that's how they have it listed. Israel-Hamas war. Is this child in Hamas? Is this child in Hamas? What are you talking about? The UN staff that are being killed, they're in Hamas. 31,000. You're telling me 31,000 people in Hamas? Get the hell out of here. How disgusting. Once again, you see how complicit they are in the media. We know the Israelis are going to lie. Well, why are you lying? Why are you helping them lie? Shame on you. Shame on you people. You're so disgusting. Really, the media are just so awful. They are just as guilty. Do you know I was in Germany and Austria, and in you know, you turn on the TV, no news about Gaza. You also have these like screens on public transport where they you know, show you news, excuse me, and they went through a couple of things like the Pope in Ukraine, and something else, and then I was waiting for Gaza, and I was like, where's the news about Gaza? Nothing. It wasn't even a batch of lies like, oh, the brave Israelis killed you know, 50,000 Hamas terrorists. Nothing. It wasn't even there. This is a few days ago. So do you want to explain to me what that is? If that is not the definition of lying by omission, I don't know what is. But you know what? It's okay, guys, because I actually learned some really cool facts. I learned facts, for example, like that, you know, 140,000 people are killed by snake bites every year. Wow. Very, very, you know, beneficial, valuable information. I learned this about snakes, but, you know, I don't know what's happening in Gaza. I mean,
I've never seen something so disgusting. Like, they have sanitized the media to such an extent to make sure that people are dumb and ignorant and in the dark. No wonder Europe is the way that it is. No wonder that America is the way that it is. How awful. You know, even the American media cover Gaza more than this. Can you imagine? The US press are covering Gaza more than this. Yes, it's propaganda and it's 99.9% lies, but they talk about it. I mean, I've never seen something like that. I swear to God, like if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I would have had a few doubts, but also not really. Lying through omission, lying by omission. They lie by not giving you the information. It's left out. How awful. I mean, really, you have to think about the fact that these are countries that massacred millions of people in World War II, and then they said never again. Okay, where's the never again? Never again means never again, right? It's the slogan that they came up with after the Holocaust, that it will never happen again. Well, you're lying, because there is a Holocaust happening in Gaza, and you are participating in it by arming the Israelis. Remember, Germany are the number 2 country supplying weapons to Israel. And then on top of that, they don't mention Gaza in the news or in, you know, on public transport to keep people in the dark. I mean, that is really bad. And elderly people, or people that are, you know, in older generations, they don't even know what's going on. They don't have, for example, they don't watch YouTube, or they don't get any news from social media. So what happens is that they're turning on the television or the radio, or picking up a newspaper. And again, we have lying by omission. And then when they mention Gaza, if they mention Gaza ever, it's just a tiny, pack of lies. I mean, and they don't even know. I mean, wow. You know, Goebbels would be very proud. He would be very proud of what has become of his homeland, yeah, of Germany and Austria. Well done. Excellent propaganda. I mean, really, you've managed to beat the Americans, which is... I'll show you one video. This is from, well, you'll see in a second. It's going to make you very angry because of how silly it is. Again, thank you to everyone for your kind donations, and I appreciate it very much. Again, YouTube demonetized my channel to punish me because I speak critically of Israel. So if you're able to, if you can afford it, please consider donating, you know, £1 or £2 a month, or $1 or $2 or euros a month on Patreon. And if not, maybe a one-time donation on PayPal, because I have to make up for all the money I'm losing basically on a monthly basis due to this demonetization, which is permanent, by the way. It's permanent. How lovely. So again, thank you to all of you who are supporting. And I see we've got a couple on Rumble. We've got this one from from Veronica, who says, thanks for not reporting annual snake bites. You're welcome. But I will report on annual snakes, like Victoria Newland. We've got a couple of them that I missed now because they scrolled up to the top. So please forgive me, guys. I saw some of them earlier. I was going to go read them, and then I was going off. I'll see if I can find them. Give me a second. I can't find it. Hopefully I'll find it afterwards. Again, forgive me for that on Rumble because I'm not able to scroll up. Let me show you this clip over here, which is going to make you rage, honestly. This is Ilhan Omar on CNN, and she's being asked about voting for Biden. And I just want to play you this clip, and I mean, wow.
On the president and this election, which is, as you point out, a really important one, you didn't vote for President Biden or for uncommitted in Minnesota's primary. The uncommitted vote was a big part of that primary in your home state. I wonder, if the election were held today, would you vote for Joe Biden? Can you confirm that he would have your vote today?
Of course, democracy is on the line. We are facing down fascism.
Excuse me, what? What do you mean, of course? Am I losing my mind here? What is she stuck in a different, part of the universe? She's in a different year. Does she not know what's happening in Gaza? What does she mean? Of course. So she basically puts on a performance like during the primary. I'm neither uncommitted nor am I for Joe Biden. I'm kind of in the middle. Okay, so you're uncommitted. But okay. And then she says, yeah, of course I vote for him. It's what does she say?
Confirm that he would have your vote today?
Of course, democracy is on the line. We are facing down fascism.
Guys, democracy is on the line. We are facing down fascism. Death to Hamas. Let's kill another 30,000 people, more, another 13,000 children. We're facing evil.
And I personally know what my life felt like having Trump as the president of this country. And I know what it felt like for my constituents and for people around this country and around the world. We have to do everything that we can to make sure that doesn't.
Yeah, Trump. Yeah, I remember. Yeah. She's not like, oh, well, Trump's just as much of a Zionist. And look at all the things he did for Israel. She's like, no. It's about me, my life. I'm more important than people in Gaza. But I'm still going to dress up and cosplay as a Muslim woman. And she says this during Ramadan. I mean...
does not happen to our country again.
And do you think your constituents ultimately will come to the same conclusion that you did, the tens of thousands who voted uncommitted as a protest against the president?
Well, the uncommitteds have been very clear. They want a change in policy, and we've seen that. Within 3 days, you had the vice president using the word ceasefire. We now have the president saying there is a red line if Israel goes into Rafah, that he is going to condition aid.
If they go into Rafah, yeah, you know what? Why not just say the fucking Sinai Desert? Let's go into the rest of the fucking peninsula. Yeah. So Rafah is the red line. I got it. Okay. So again, for those of you who are not well versed with Gaza's geography, so basically the Israelis have gone in and bombed everything in Gaza. And now the last thing that they're concerned about, so out of all of this in Gaza, is this, Rafah. That's the red line. 200 meters. I see, got it. Okay, that's good to know, right? That's good to know. This is your red line. Watch out, Netanyahu, Ilhan Omar and Biden are going to come for you if you go into Rafah. Can you believe these people?
So there has been a significant progress. I think it is the responsibility of every citizen of this country that cares for the humanity of all to continue to push this administration to do what it can do to end the onslaught that Palestinians are living through every single day.
Of course, that I'm done with these fraud progressives. We have all been done with them for quite some time now. I mean, really, just the way she says it also is so horrific, right? Like to pressure the administration to do what they can. What do you mean to do what they can? It's like they're just accidentally participating in genocide. They just forgot about it, and we have to help them do what they can do. They're the ones supplying the bombs. Do you not read or you call yourself a politician, you're in Congress and you don't know what's happening? How disgusting. That is so disgusting. I mean, I don't even care that she's an Arab African Muslim woman. Even as a white woman, what difference would it make if she's still supporting the same thing? It makes no difference. But it makes it worse that she's during Ramadan basically telling people in Gaza to go screw themselves. Like she's going to be Arab when it suits her, or Muslim when it suits her, or minority when it suits her.
when it makes her look good, but then when it actually comes to helping the same minority groups that she comes from, no, it's like, you know, I'm backing Genocide Joe. Another 13,000 dead children. Let's go. Part 2. Really disgusting. You know, after Nuremberg, the idea was that you prosecute everyone from like the town mayor to the head of the Luftwaffe. Okay. Now, let me just put to you. Let me just put this to you that, you know, if one day there's accountability for this, and I think there will be, you cannot leave people like her out, because she is going on television, she is campaigning for Genocide Joe, and she's doing that after everything you guys have just sat through, what I showed to you. Are you not disgusted by this? Are you not horrified by how this woman speaks, by how anyone speaks, how they dare to defend this kind of behavior in any fucking way? I don't care what you felt like under Trump. You see, this is the problem, is that they're going to behave like Trump, maybe worse than Trump. And then at the end of the day, they're going to say, but hey, you have to vote for us. This is about democracy. I mean, fuck your democracy. Go to hell with your democracy. Stop bombing people in Gaza, you wretched witch. I mean, how can I make this any simpler? How dare you? How dare you get on TV and say this shit to us? They have like surpassed all lines, all barriers. They have transcended into a level of such, you know, shamelessness. I mean, they'll just walk naked in the street, you know, and just proudly profess death to the children in Gaza. That's how fucking shameless these people are. Thank you, Morgan, for the donation. Morgan says, keep it up, homie. The only thing that keeping up is my blood pressure right now. No, seriously, I'm really angry. I'm really sorry for the swearing, but you know, sorry, not sorry. It's really outrageous. It's truly outrageous. I'm going on Rumble and I'm trying to see the donations. Unfortunately, I don't know where to find the past ones, so please forgive me for that. But I'm in the comment section and I'm trying to read the latest ones. We've got one here from Armenia. It says, from Armenia to Palestine with love. Thank you for all you do, Richard. Thank you, and much love to Armenia always. And I'm trying to see if I can find any more at the top. It seems I can't, but nevertheless, thank you to everybody. Thank you to all of you who joined on Patreon, and please remember to share the videos. It's really important to open up people's, you know, to open people's eyes. This is the problem that we're seeing right now, is that you have a here, Jokers for you put it best. We are being ruled by sociopathic serial killers, literally murdering children out in the open with our support. Thank you. This is you know, you've perfectly encapsulated my sentiments. So again, Ramadan Kareem to everybody who's celebrating. And you know, we have to keep praying for Gaza. The best we can do is educate people, I suppose, because there's such an amount of ignorance. You know, it's very carefully engineered by spin doctors and propagandists, and they've created this climate where, you know, asking questions is wrong, being informed is wrong, informing others is wrong. You know, it's wrong speak. Yes, to criticize Israel, it's wrong speak. You're not allowed to ask too many questions. Be quiet. Do as you're told. Be a good, you know, be a good cog in the system, in the wheel, and that's it. That's it. The genocide goes ahead. No, I refuse this. I refuse. They are really the worst gaslighters. They are the worst gaslighters of all the gaslighters. Thank you guys again very much for tuning in. I appreciate it. And make sure you're sharing the live streams
sharing the videos. It's very, very important, especially after they censored and demonetized the channel. And again, I have to ask you guys to please make sure you donate on PayPal. Please donate on Patreon or on Rumble, because I have to make up for all the money they basically took away from me on YouTube for just telling the truth, for just talking about this. That's it. I mean, it's truly ridiculous. I've never had any warning, never done anything wrong, you know, and just immediately... These are the people we're dealing with. It's a bunch of fascist, authoritarian, Zionist, Nazi bastards. So if you can, please donate. And if you can't, it's okay. Just share the videos. That also helps a lot. And again, I'm very grateful. And guys, please, one favor. If you're on YouTube, go on Rumble, make an account and subscribe to the channel. Please do that for me as a personal favor, because I'm trying to get you guys over, but the rate of growth has been slow. We're at 200,000 on YouTube, but only 25,000 on Rumble. So please do that for me if you would. Here's the channel. It's rumble.com/RichardMedhurst, and I'm pasting it in the comments in the live chat. Again, I know it's annoying to make an account on another website or to sign up, but please do it for me. Thank you guys very much again for all your donations and all your kind comments. I appreciate it very much. You're very kind. And excuse me. I also see that we've got Mike, the Russian-Iranian bot, who raised their Patreon. So I'm going to play them a crab dance, and also for having such an awesome name. So let's go. Everybody, give Mike, the Russian-Iranian bot, a round of applause.
Clap for that, you stupid bastard.
Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
Listen, fuckhead, you have fucking crossed the line, claiming I'm the enemy. You got that, you goddamn son of a bitch?
I don't give a fuck what you think, bitch.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Cut that bitch off.
Thank you for Iron Dome.
Thank you. والله في كلاب بصراحة يعني. ماشي نشتغل عادي.
We lied, we cheated, we stole.
China.
And you ain't black.
There's always the macro.
And then there's the micro.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
You talking to me? Ladies and gentlemen,
I'll have 2 number 9s. A number 9 large.
we got him.
Because I have to do it myself. I know it's not.
I've fallen and I can't get up.
Oh!
Disgusting!
She was 12, I was 30, but anyway.
We'll do it live. Fuck it. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Why you text Sender? Why? Oh, you're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay. Okay.
Suck my dick and choke on it. I yield my time. Fuck you.
A is for
All men and women created by go. You know the thing.
B is for
I'm beginning to see why your wife left you.
C is for
Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys.
D is for
Don't worry, I'm so serious. Children, I love to hear them.
E is for
Excuse to walk by the dealer and say, no, I'm not going to be a mule. I got something to do. I got to go do boom, boom, boom.
F is for
Time friend, and she's a friend. She's been my friend in and out of public life.
G is for
Go to Joe 30330.
H is for
Hairy legs that turn blonde in the sun. And the kids used to come up and reach in the pool and rub my leg down.
I is for
I'm a Democratic candidate for the United States Senate.
J is for
Just look at the record.
I have President Biden, Vice President Biden.
Well, I tell you what, if you look at my record and you still doubt about my commitment, then you should vote for somebody else.
K is for
Kids jumping on my lap. And I've loved kids jumping on my lap.
L is for
The lion, dog, face, pony soldier.
M is for
Make sure the television, make sure you have the record player on at night, the phone. Make sure the kids hear work.
N is for
NATO.
O is for
The only African American woman that ever been elected to the United States Senate.
P is for
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
R is for
Rest her soul, and although she's your mom's still alive.
S is for
Send a text to the word united.
T is for
Truth over facts.
U is for
Union workers, the UAW took incredible cuts in their future.
V is for
Don't vote for somebody else.
All right, thanks so much.
W is for
Wait, you're getting nervous, man. Calm down. It's okay.
X is for
Xi Jinping.
Y is for
And you ain't black.
Z is for
She's sleeping?
Women in our country has been classified as essential. So this is an issue.
By the way, this is my little sister Valerie, and I'm Jill's husband. Oh no, this is Valerie. You switched on me. This is my wife. This is my sister. They switched on me.